how to see a whack MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds. Open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil that lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees, listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. Tenderoni, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey, kinda like Sigourney. Implore me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas, go figure. It's the card, they call me Uncle Bigger. Niggas love you blunts, down your liquors. I be the parallel to the fiction. You fixated on this brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange. The whole concept, yo, is good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics, just atomic. Bees like a bonnet, cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the Bugatti type of skill. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? It's still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just bury. Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable diction. My style might vary, so get a hold of your own shit real fast. Fucking with us, we take it right out your ass. Prairie dogs chill while the other dogs howl. Too many dogs get sent to the pound. Back on the hill, me and my peeps just lounge. Prairie dogs, we keep it on the down. Splatter, don't like gun splatter. We try to climb a ladder, wicked men get better. They make it like splatter, but it really don't matter. Cause you know we coming back to our sons and our daughters. To follow him, the one who protects ya. And the mother, she will never neglect ya. Through divine nature, the people respect ya. And in this way I deliver my lecture. They want war. Crying babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued when the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a dead old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the brink. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers. Cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in the way to settle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ad, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. What's up, y'all? What's up, Venom? I see. Oh, okay. I'm gonna check your message. What's up, Rafika? Good to see y'all in here early. I hope everybody had a good day. Right now, it is a new day. It's the 29th, Thursday, January 0906 Central European Time. Right? That makes it 3:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, America. That makes it like 1, right? Something like that. Between 12 and 1 Pacific time. I hope everybody, had a pleasant rest of your day yesterday. I mean, damn. What can we say about these times, But you know something? We can make the times good by sticking in there, fighting for our life. I mean, I think that's basically what people can do to make their day invigorating. Do something positive that has some meaning to these times. Also, that has some meaning more than just ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, that's a real part of life. That's a real quality, not just quality, but skill that you definitely need to have. The ability to be able to recalibrate for the moment and just understand where you can put some focus in there that's going to be positive, that's needed that will bring positivity to your life too, but also to others.
So whatever you can do in these times to help support others, and that could be in many ways emotionally a little bit. Of course, don't burn yourself out. Don't give more than you can give. But I mean, sometimes people just need to know that they're not alone. You know what I'm saying? And I can imagine that a lot of people can maybe feel that way, especially when hard times are coming. A lot of people may not have the right support system. So that's why I'm saying this, or enough support system. So that's why I'm saying this. It's a good idea for people that do have more or a little, to keep that in their mind when they walk around, because that might be the key thing that makes this transition turn out positive for everybody. And and one thing Donald Trump and his administration, I call it the Epstein administration, because that's basically what it is, the child trafficking admin, right? This group has made everybody understand that you can be trafficked too. You are a piece of meat, according to this administration, and you will be treated like one. And so the only way you can fight that is with showing love towards each other. We don't have to love that motherfucker or anybody down with him, but we can love everybody else that gets, that we all belong, that we all have rights, that this is our home too, motherfucker. You can't just come and kick us around on our streets, in our country, in our goddamn country, man. What the fuck? Take that shit over there, partner, where you live. Don't bring that Donald Trump shit over here, and don't bring that Epstein administration over here. Keep the fuck out, ICE, because we know ICE is some fake shit anyway, right? ICE is just put out there to harass people. Nothing to do with catching illegal immigrants, really. It's just another pawn in the game. Picking up any sucker that needs a goddamn job. I mean, don't you know how to just walk out on a job and just spit on the ground like, fuck this job? A lot of these people don't, man. For some of these folks, it's their first job, and they look at it like, 50,000, man. Wow, I know what I'm going to do with that money when I get that money in my hand, man. Wow. And then they later watch, they're going to find out that 50,000 ain't that much, man. 100,000, man. You willing to sell your soul for $100,000, motherfucker? Like, damn, that's deep. That is deep, and it is what it is. But listen, so fight the power, treat people with some love, and get some love back to everybody. Let's show each other some love outside of our ethnic groups, outside of our background, whatever our particular background is, not just ethnic group, political group. You said something there, Venom, about the left and the right and there's a lot of other nuances. Like when we're able to engage each other just by two words, MAGA and liberal, maggot and liberal, right? That makes believe that the world is centered around those two ideas purely, first of all. And how many MAGA people agree on everything? How many liberals agree on everything? And then is that all there is to it? Is there not a center also? Is it only right and left, no center, nobody else? And so, first of all and foremost, I'm a human being, you know what I mean? But I know people in a lot of different parts of the country, of the U.S., and I've grown up and been to other parts of the country as a young person and as an adult. You know what I mean? I'm talking about not just once or twice. You know what I mean? So I'm aware of different views in different parts of the country, but I've been blessed in all parts of the country. Like I'm a person, like when I'm going somewhere, it's just about good people, and you can find good people anywhere. You see what I mean? You can find good people anywhere. You ain't gotta go out there expecting everybody to be nice or like you, but there's good people everywhere. So we need to keep that in mind. Like, don't let motherfuckers like Trump try to control everything, try to control what reality is. And that's really what he's trying to do, exert influence and control everybody's reality through his actions. And, it ain't going to work. It's going to burn out. It's going to burn out. It's going to burn out. It's about to burn out now. But having said that, anybody that wants to contact me, here's the, you can contact me, as a matter of fact, on Facebook here through Messenger. So you just go, if you're on Facebook, just click the like button there and you can send me a message over there. Just, structure it so I can kind of, when I read it, I can understand what it's about, because obviously I don't have time to just be chatting and stuff like that. But if it's a well-structured email, if it's about something that I can read, understand, and then, consider and write back, then please send me a message. Also, I'm going to start using Messenger as a way, this same Messenger, vMedia, to have people call up to in the future. So I just want to let folks know that. So we're going to get off to a warm start, a nice, easy start while people come into the chat. But first of all, I wanted to first start off with this shutdown. Now, shutdown is pretty much imminent. Democrats are getting a lot of pressure from every, the constituency, the center Democrats and the left. Like most of the Dems right now, the constituency I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the representatives, but the representatives. I try not to fall into this thing where we're so judgmental about the left, because I'm gonna tell you, the left is the only thing keeping the country together from falling apart right now. I'm talking about in terms of the politicians. Like, they're pretty much, the Democrats are pretty much making sure that the shit is still alive, because they're the only ones that seem to do law, constitutional law, up inside of this place. And they're the only ones that seem to care about doing something. And so I try not to be so hard, but of course with that job comes criticism. Anytime you have a public position, part of the job is just taking criticism. So they know that. But I try not to forget some of the significant things that certain people do get done. So I know that's not the easiest job, even though they get paid okay. But listen, I think, to be honest with you, I think you got two kinds of congressional and senators: ones that don't do shit, and others that really work a lot. You know what I'm saying? So so let's get into this right now. Let me see here. What is that? Okay. Yeah, so let's get into this and see what they're saying about this shutdown. Because it's imminent.
Let's bring in Texas Democratic Congressman Greg Casar, a member of the House Oversight Committee and chair of the House Progressive Caucus. Congressman, you have called for the Senate to reject funding ICE. What do you think Senate Democrats should be demanding to get their votes?
Senate Democrats have an opportunity right now to stop the chaos in Minneapolis and to make sure this never happens again. And so I think they should be asking for at least 5 non-negotiable reforms. 1, have ICE and CBP leave Minneapolis and not do this to any other American cities. 2, a thorough and independent investigation into the killings of Miss Good and Mr. Preddy. 3, the masks need to come off. 4, ICE should not be allowed to arrest and deport U.S. citizens anymore. And 5, we need to stop these indiscriminate mass arrest quotas and warrantless arrests. These aren't all the changes we need, but things like getting a warrant and taking the masks off are the kinds of common sense reforms that an everyday American could say, look, who could disagree with that? That's what the Senate Democrats should be fighting for.
If there is no agreement, however, we could see a partial government.
All right. So let me pull that back a little bit. And see, already you can kind of see, look, I'm just reading some of the messages in the chat. My whole thing is very simple. It's right now I see how many people in the chat. 4, hold on. Who is this? Anyway, there's 4 or 5 people in the chat. Look, everybody in the chat, just let me know one damn thing. Do you agree with what you just heard? Okay. I try to, how can I say this? Get to some points about what's going on right now, right? What's going to have the center point of what's going to have effect on our lives, right? And so right now, this is a congressional member speaking about what should happen, right? What Democrats should do, right? But let's hear this again. This is Representative, what's his name here? Greg Caesar's demands for Senate Dems to make before the funding. Okay, so this is about the funding. So let's get into the funding part, because whether you like it or not, that's what they're talking about And that's what you pay taxes for. And that's what they're about to follow through with. You pay them taxes so they can do this job. Pass a law, right? It's that simple. Pass a law. Fund something with your money. They already got your money. Now it's just only about how it's going to get spent. Okay, so don't abandon me on this part. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't abandon me on this part where they're going to spend money. Okay, so here's one simple question: do you agree with what he just said, or do you disagree? Now I'm going to play this one more time, and you think about that. Put a 1 if you agree. Put a 2 if you disagree, and put a 3 if you like it, but you just have some small differences.
American cities. 2, a thorough and independent negotiable reforms. 1, have ICE and CBP leave Minneapolis and not do this to any other American cities. 2, a thorough and independent investigation into the killings of Miss Good and Mr. Preddy. 3, the masks need to come off. 4, ICE should not be allowed to arrest and deport U.S. citizens anymore. And 5, we need to stop these indiscriminate mass arrest quotas and warrantless arrests. These aren't all the changes we need, but things like getting a warrant and taking the masks off are the kinds of common sense reforms that an everyday American could say, look, who could disagree with that? That's what the Senate Democrats should be fighting for.
All right. So very simple. Very simple. These are regarding the shutdown and that's impending. These are some simple demands. Right now, I'm going to read this one more time. Immigration enforcement officials leave Minneapolis and other cities. Do you agree or disagree? 1 or 2. 1 if you agree, 2 if you disagree. That's what I want to see. 1 if you agree, 2 if you disagree. Then I will understand the answer. Okay, very simple. All right, Dang, what's up? All right, so now the next one is no use of this is ridiculous. I have to do it this way though, but sometimes you just have to. In any case, let's go on here. How about this? Let me try to. If you agree with all of these demands, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree, put a 2 in the chat. Put a 3 in the chat if you agree with most of it, but kind of have some small different differences. So there we go. That way we understand it. Because we need to get somewhere with this. This is about the money. You know what I'm saying? And this is about the money they already collected from people and where it's going to get spent. So if it's not going to get spent on this side of the street, it's going to get spent on the other side of the street. You know what I mean? So so here we go. And let me ask you a question, Venom. Did you pay taxes? Because I see Venom is like, fuck the government. Yeah. But listen, Venom, you got to cooperate, man. You got to cooperate too. Okay. So let me ask you a simple question, Venom. Put a 1 in the chat. Do you agree with what was just stated of these demands? If you agree, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree, put a 2 in the chat. If you think it's mostly okay, but you have some small differences, put a 3 in the chat. All right. So, yeah, I don't see Venom putting 1, 2, or 3. So I'm just curious about that. In any case, so let's move on to the next part.
And warrantless arrests. These aren't all the changes we need, but things like getting a warrant and taking the masks off are the kinds of common sense reforms that an everyday American could say, look, who could disagree with that? That's what the Senate Democrats should be fighting for.
If there is no agreement, however, we could see a partial government shutdown.
Yo, Venom, sorry about that, but you spamming the chat, man. And so, listen, this is not for kids here. It's not that complicated. You know, please try to come along if you want a dialogue. Please try to be part of the dialogue and not your own dialogue. I mean, you're here, buddy. So I like to include people, right? I don't like to ignore people. I like to include people. But if we can't have a conversation about something meaningful that has meaning to other people too, right, then what's the point? You know, what's up? What's up, Eric?
Just outline for us. We already saw the
I see you,
longest
Rafi.
government shutdown in our country's history last year when your party took a stand on extending Obamacare subsidies. Here we are months later, though, and those subsidies still haven't been extended. Why should people expect different results out of another potential shutdown?
That's a good goddamn question. Wow. Let me roll that back. That was a good question.
There is no agreement. However, we could see a partial government shutdown, as Ali just outlined for us. We already saw the longest government shutdown in our country's history last year when your party took a stand on extending Obamacare subsidies. Here we are months later, though, and those subsidies still haven't been extended. Why should people expect different results out of another potential shutdown?
Damn, why should people expect different results out of another shutdown? That's a nice question. I like that question. What's up, Hannibal? Yeah. I say shut it down, too. I mean, because otherwise you're just weaponizing them. It's not just about the taxes. It's not just about whether you get the tax cuts on the healthcare. Yeah, that would be what a civilized Western country would do. A sensible Western country would do. Because a lot of money gets spent on that, whether you're getting healthcare or not. A lot of your tax dollars is still getting spent on that, whether you're getting healthcare or not. That's the crazy part about it. So you would think that people would have an opinion about this, you know what I'm saying, and want something done about it. But yeah, in any case.
Well, in this case, Democrats have said we could fund 95% of the government if the Republicans put those votes up tomorrow in the Senate. The question is, are Republicans going to hold all these agencies hostage, all because they don't want to even vote on some of the common sense reforms to ICE that I just laid out? Let's be really specific, because I think that's what people deserve here. The Democrats have asked for things like ICE should not be allowed to deport American citizens. Republicans are saying no. Are Republicans going to shut down?
How is it not understood you can't deport U.S. citizens? What the fuck is this about? Like, and I think that's the silliness, because first of all, it's already illegal, period. According to the Constitution, that's that. You can't, the only court you could get that passed is a fascist court. That's the only one. It's never been that way in the history of the U.S. It's always meant something very specific, and now they want to change that. You know, this is crazy. This is crazy. And that's why I say, yes, shut this motherfucker down, because this is really it's not just about how much your health care costs. It's literally about your civil right, freedom of speech. Can you get your freedom of speech guaranteed? Can it fucking be guaranteed? Or are these ICE people going to impede on it? Can you have your Second Amendment right respected? Or is that something they're going to impede on? What about Third, Fourth, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment? What about all these? Are they going to follow the motherfucking law or not? So if these pigs, because you have to call them pigs at this point, because that's really what they are. They're not public servants anymore. These are motherfucking pigs. You see what I mean? They're not civil servants anymore. You know, now they're pigs. Oink oink. And you know, do you want to fund your own ass whipping? Do you want to fund your own imprisonment? Do you want to, is that what's going on here at the expense of your civil rights? Yo, sorry. There can be no funding. There can be no funding. The funding got to stop. In my thoughts, why is it, what's up with, how about shut this shit down until they impeach everybody in their goddamn administration? How about that? You know, because listen, we talked about this before. Do you want to make a stand now? Or do you want to slowly get your ass beaten down and take a stand later? How hard do you think taking a stand later is going to be after they just continue to use your own tax dollars to beat you down slowly? How hard do you think it's going to be then? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, let's hear the rhetoric though. Let's hear what they're saying in legacy media. Let's hear it.
The government, because they want to protect ICE's ability to deport American citizens or arrest people without warrants? Really?
Yes.
I don't know the answer to your question, and I don't know if that is specifically what's, the clincher for some Republicans.
This better be the clincher for Democrats. Fuck the Republican Party right now. All Democrats need to agree on that. Hell fucking no. And anything else that has anything to do with violating any of our goddamn Bill of Rights, our civil rights. What the hell? That has to be a non-negotiable across the whole spectrum. And then the second thing, after all of that is guaranteed, then the second thing is the what about the health care? Why are you continuing to collect large sums of money from American people for a health care system that they don't benefit from? That has to be fucking illegal. Why is it that poor and middle class people have to pay for other fucking people's health care through their tax system? What the fuck is that? That's slavery, yo. That right there is sharecropping. That shit right there is sharecropping. That's modern day sharecropping, And I don't know about you. Listen, I'm a tough ass person. I'm a tough person. I worked doing construction for some years. You see what I mean? Among other things. But what I have to say is that it's one thing from being strong, being like a panther, you know what I'm saying? Just physically being able to do something like that for 10, 11 hours a day. That's one thing. It's another thing to do it for nothing. It's another thing to just be doing it and never getting a fucking head. That I can't do. And when you in the U.S. busting your ass, they try to make you spend every motherfucking cent of your money on expenses. Every goddamn expense, everything. And, then you got to work even longer hours for less. Look, I work something like, sometimes I'm working like 50 hours a week, but it's not because I have to. It's not at all because I have to. It's just because we're missing loads of people. We're missing people, not loads of people, but we're always can use one more person, maybe. Right. So we have some temps and things like that. Right. But I mean, to be honest, to have my pension and all of that shit covered, I only have to work like in my union, my union dues covered, in case I go unemployed or something, I need to pay into that. Right. The truth of the matter is that I only need to work 33 hours to get my full benefits. So I usually just work more just because it's needed and, whatever, it's more money. But in the U.S., people are working 40 hours minimum a goddamn week. For what? For what? And what's left? What is left? You see what I mean? And they want to knock you over the head. I'm telling you. This is fascism, and it's been unfair before it turned to fascism. You see what I mean? It's not the first time we had a problem, but this is fascism. Before it was just goddamn unfair. Now it's like, yo, man, I say don't fund it. I say people need to take a stand now. Fuck this. And a lot of people already got used to the idea, apparently, that they ain't going to have no health care. Right. So just put that one on the side and make the rest of it. Get the first thing done first, because how petty these goddamn Republicans are. Like they sitting on top of the world with your tax dollars. And they're going to be stingy when it comes time for the everyday person. For the billionaires, they're going to continue to give them subsidized projects, work, contracts and all of this shit. It's
Republicans to maybe not go along with all of the Democratic demands. We are seeing
the young people can't get nothing, bro. Hands in heel now. Yeah, hands to heel now. Yeah, the young people can't get nothing, bro. What that's not life. What the hell is that? Young people, travel. If the United States of America wants to treat you like this, leave. Go get a passport and leave and come back when the next administration is in office. Like, really, just go around this motherfucker, because they literally think you have to live there. Listen, I'm thinking about when I'm coming back too. But I'm going to tell you one thing for sure. I'd rather wait, because I don't think he's going to last, but he might last a little longer than people would want it that lived in the U.S. You see what I mean? He might last a little longer than you want, but he ain't gonna last after 4 years. It's over. But how are you gonna look? How are you gonna feel after 4 years of Donald Trump's administration, the Epstein administration? How are you gonna feel? What's your life gonna be like after 4 years? It can't. Most people can't survive 4 years. It has to be this year. It's over. It has to be very clear. This year, that administration has to be finished. There's loads of bad problems.
A change in tone from some of your colleagues, though, across the aisle when it comes to immigration enforcement, and specifically what's happening in Minnesota. At least 10 Republican senators have now released statements calling for an independent investigation into the Preddy shooting. And I want to play what your fellow Texan, Republican Senator Ted Cruz, had to say about toning down the rhetoric.
The problem is, particularly for someone not paying attention, if you're being told...
Look at this dude. Oh, my God. You know what I'm saying? This was one. Let me ask you, did he vote for the big, beautiful bill? Let's just be clear about this. Did he vote for it?
This is a mom of three, and there's no indication.
Now he's complaining. He's complaining. So, look, he might be complaining about Trump, but a person, it doesn't matter what they claim to be. If you voted for that bill, you ain't shit. Period. No matter what state you come from, you ain't shit. You didn't give a fuck about the American people when you voted for that bill, you know? And so he could complain about Trump now. Man, you fucking late. You are fucking late. You know how many people have died due to natural disasters? You know how many fucking people have died and been harmed because of these policies, this ICE shit and all other kinds of the goddamn cutting back of the aid. How many people fucking died? This motherfucker voted for this. He voted for this. And now he's trying to pretend like he didn't, because that's all these motherfuckers are doing. Listen, the only one of them I will give any credit to, and that's Marjorie Greene Taylor. This motherfucker, I would never give him credit because he was told already that this was going to happen. And he voted for this shit anyway. You know what I mean? And now they're just pretending. He knows he ain't going to have a job soon. That's what it is. He knows he ain't going to have a job soon. But at least Marjorie Greene Taylor just stepped the fuck down. You know what I'm saying? You know, at least she did that. You know, that was admirable. That was a real deed. We need less Republicans, senators, and shit in Congress, people. That's exactly what we need. Step down. Please stop waiting. But this dude is so phony. He's so phony, man. He's part of the swamp.
You know, she's not waving an ISIS flag or doesn't have a suicide vest around her.
Yeah.
Escalating the rhetoric doesn't help.
I mean, he voted for Donald goddamn Trump. What do you think he was voting for? He think he was voting for a person that knows how to not escalate the rhetoric? That's what he's been known for, escalating the rhetoric. What did he think? You know, listen, Kamala Harris said they were going to send ICE out on the street. She said that. She said it was going to be like Gestapo. Most Dems knew that. Most Dems said it openly. Openly. They said he was going to give a $1 trillion tax cut to the wealthy. All of this shit could have been prevented. People talked about all of it. He said he was going to cut health care, and then they lied. They lied. We wouldn't do that. We Republicans. We would never touch Medicare. That's exactly what they said, and then they touched Medicare and scrapped it for most of you red state people, too. You know, that means your grandmama ain't going to have it. That's right, because she's broke. A lot of MAGA people are poor or middle-class, hard-working families. Maybe they're too stupid to realize they fucking poor. You know what I'm saying? But they poor. And let me tell you, most of them are poorer than me, and most of them been poorer than me my whole goddamn life. I'm just going to say that. Facts. You know what I'm saying? I'm a real DC motherfucker, man. Capitol Hill East. You know what I'm saying? I grew up on the hill. God damn it. I'm going to have me I'm going to go to a restaurant and eat as a kid, motherfucker. As a kid. Oh, shit. Look at Andrew, petty ass. Yeah, it is facts. It is facts. You know, I love my town. You know what I'm saying? Washington, D.C., Capitol Hill. That's right. Capitol Hill. Yeah. And, you know what I'm saying? So we like to eat at nice restaurants. The kids from the Hill, we like to go to Georgetown and eat. You know what I'm saying? Eat our lunch in Georgetown and shit. go to a restaurant over there for the day, catch a movie, come back to the Hill later. You know what I'm saying? You know, really, man, fuck that. I'm just saying, like, what the fuck you think my parents had books in the motherfucking house. I don't know what you talking about, on shelves, a whole lot of them. My parents can read. Okay, so you know, but I'm just saying, most of these people, they don't even realize they the ones, they should be voting Democrats, because at least Democrat want to get them to keep their goddamn health care. These people got so crazy in their head, they were like, you know what? Fuck this socialized health care. They don't even know what the fuck socialism is. They pay for a socialized military, and they sitting up there don't even realize it. They're like, fuck socialized health care. We can't do that. We don't want any niggas getting any of that money. We don't want any gays getting any of that money. It's like, man, are you stupid? What about you getting any of your money? You work for it, pay taxes for it. They would rather pay taxes and get no health care while someone else gets health care with their tax dollars. They would rather do that. Shameful. Shameful. You red state people, you need to fucking apply yourself to civics of your own country. Apply yourself to civics, because you all are horrible at civics. Like, really, really.
And it actually loses credibility. And so I would encourage the administration to be more measured, to recognize.
I'm not dissing poor people either. I'm sorry about that. I'm just keeping it in perspective. I wasn't poor. You know, I'm just going to let you know. You see what I mean? You like, you know, and most of the people I grew up with were not poor either. I don't know what they I'm just letting you know that, you know what I'm saying? Dangerous, but not poor. That's different. I'm talking about DC's a funny ass city now. Don't get it twisted. Just because a motherfucker will bust a hole in your ass don't mean they grew up poor.
Recognize the tragedy and to say we don't want anyone's lives to be lost.
But at least my parents had enough sense to know you should have health care with your motherfucking tax money. Like, what the fuck?
The politicians who are pouring gasoline onto this fire, they need to stop.
Congressman, do you agree with what we just heard from the senator?
I mean, let's get this straight.
Pretty convenient to say it now, ain't it?
People speaking out is making a difference. The fact that you have Ted Cruz saying that the rhetoric
it does mean something. It does mean something, because it means MAGA is split over this, you know, and that's exactly what you would hope would happen, because if they were unified over this, that would be an ugly picture. That would mean, like, damn, you're unified over your own destruction. Like, what the fuck? These people are on a suicide. They're on a suicide Kool-Aid drinking adventure with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is like the Jim Jones of the pedophile ring. You know what I'm saying? And these people are really drinking the fucking Kool-Aid, bringing their kids to the slaughter, like, straight up, by voting for him.
Down. That doesn't happen often. Let's push him to actually have him say that it's the Trump administration and cabinet secretaries that he confirmed that called Miss Good a domestic terrorist. Let's get him there.
Yep.
The fact that you have people like Ted Cruz waffling, the fact that the NRA, the gun lobby, is starting to speak out against Trump officials, that shows that they know that they are in the hot seat right now. So that's why right now Senate Democrats need to push for these common sense reforms, like getting masks off of ICE and investigating thoroughly these needless killings. This is the time we need to push on those Senate Democrats and hold Republicans like Mr. Cruz accountable to not just waffle and actually say out loud that it was cabinet secretaries he confirmed, like Kristi Noem, who are calling U.S. citizens terrorists.
Texas Congressman Greg.
Calling U.S. citizens terrorists. And that's pathetic, but it is what it is. That's what they're doing, you know?
Yeah,
that's what they've been doing. And the whole point is it going to ride or is it not going to ride? It's not going to ride forever, But the point is, why should it ride at all? Why should it ride for one day? Why is that?
Democrats to block ICE funding and force a government shutdown at the end of this month. Senate Democrats saying they will now oppose legislation to fund the federal government if DHS funding is included in the bill after the ICE officer shot and killed Minneapolis resident Alex Pretty on Saturday. Here's what Senate Democrats said on the Sunday talk shows today.
Just look, somebody in the chat wrote, you got TDSD. Oh, wow, that's so original. Did you invent that? Wow, you're great. That was genius. You made that up all by yourself today. Wow, you know what I'm saying? No, I think the people that have Trump derangement syndrome are the people that follow his little child raping ass. That's who I think have it. Trump. If you follow Trump, at this point, you're the one with the syndrome, okay, motherfucker? I'm not obligated to follow any fucking body, okay? Especially the president of the United States. It don't matter who it is. You're the one that's sucking on his little penis every fucking day, out here making excuses for him and shit, calling other people names. It's like, man, fuck your leader. Fuck Donald J. Trump. Fuck him. Yeah, fuck him. Okay? If you don't like it, so what? You know? No. At least I make up shit. You came with, you have TDS syndrome. Like, damn, who wrote that? Somebody like 2 years ago? It's like, what the fuck? It just gave it to him. Here, use this. Everybody say this. It's like their little pill they have to take. They just stand in line and then they all get a little pill. Here's you get your TDS syndrome pill. You get your TDS syndrome pill. Here you go, follower.
I am not voting for this funding. And what could we do to overhaul them? Oh, let me start. New leadership, stopping these surges across the country, not just in my state, training them like they were supposed to be trained.
I'm not giving ICE or Border
big girl
Patrol another dime, given how these agencies are operating. Democrats are not going to fund that. The government will shut down if Republicans insist that that be joined with other government funding. It will be a Republican decision.
Joining me now.
I'm just like, I will believe it when I see it, but it is that I hope that they follow through on that, but I will believe it when I see it, because this is a real moment right here. If things get funded right now, I think it's going to get even worse in the United States of America. So it's going to get bad when things don't get funded, but at least it won't just be the working class.
Now is New Hampshire.
I mean, it won't just be one group of people. It will be everybody now. Everybody, the whole working class, the whole, and the people that thought they might be able to go to work and get paid a government check. A lot of them, like the military, they're not going to get their check. And that's another important thing, because Trump is talking about Inserection Act. He's talking about all these things, using the military to go into American cities. He's invading other countries. You know what? Fuck that. Just stop it, because this guy's a lunatic. They even have let me see here. They have a report that says Trump has some sort of bank account in a foreign country where the oil money from Venezuela is going. Hold on, let me see something. Let me play this a little bit, and then let me go to that.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander, she serves on the House Armed Services and Small Business Committees. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. So, Congresswoman, Senate Democrats are vowing they're not going to fund DHS, even after 7 House Democrats this week joined Republicans to fund the agency as part of this year's government spending bill. So will Democrats block DHS funding, even if it means a partial government shutdown?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Alex. Here's what I'd say. What we need right now, what we saw happen in July, was that the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, the secretary, got a blank check of more than 100.
All right, so check this out. I'm gonna let this play, but check this out. This is what it says. It says money is going to accounts in Qatar controlled by the U.S. government. So why is there what is this? What is this? What is this? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. What, a U.S. account is not good enough? What's up with that? That's really strange. Who's managing that account? What bank is that in? I mean, is that okay? MAGA people in the chat, is that okay? Is it okay? U.S. government has a foreign bank account in Qatar where the oil money is going to. Are you okay with that? Put a 1 in the chat if you're okay with that. Put a 2 in the chat if you're not okay with that. Put a 1 in the chat if you're okay with the oil money going to a U.S. bank account in Qatar, managed by a Qatarian, someone in Qatar. If that's okay with you, put a 1 in the chat. If that's not okay with you, put a 2 in the chat. That's basically what I want to see. 1 and 2s. I'm like, what the hell? Anyway, listen, Venomness, you got to start cooperating. 1 or 2. I see for some reason you have an issue with that. You know, listen, you got to start cooperating, Venom. Okay? Like straight up. All right. See, I see this guy is just, yo, man, you just take a weekend. Take a weekend, man. Take a weekend, man. What the hell? You know, I told people you got to cooperate if you want to be in the chat. I don't have to let you in the chat. You know what I mean? If you're going to be in the chat, at least cooperate every once in a while when I try to digest and get some understanding about how people feel about this stuff. Now, listen, I'm going to let this play to everybody else, people that are, you know, at least, you know, I don't mind people making their own comments and views, but when I ask something, a question, I want to see an answer that helps everybody digest, you know, what people are
Short
thinking.
answer. There is evidence that Venezuelan oil money is being placed in bank accounts in Qatar, Middle East. But there is no credible evidence that the money is going to Trump personally or to a private bank account for him. Here's what reliable reporting actually says. What's really happening with Venezuela's oil money, AP News. 1. Money is going to accounts in Qatar, controlled by the US government. The Trump administration plans to let Venezuela sell oil and put the revenue into a fund managed under US oversight. Officials say the proceeds are being routed into an account in Qatar to avoid legal complications because Venezuela's government is disputed internationally. Reporting confirms the funds are held in US-controlled accounts, with the largest account reportedly in Qatar. Key point. The money is not described as Trump's personal money. It's described as Venezuelan funds under US control. 2. Why Qatar? Analysts and officials say Qatar is used because Venezuela has been cut off from much of the global banking system due to sanctions. Putting money in Western banks could allow creditors to seize it. Qatar acts as a neutral intermediary where funds can move with US approval. 3. Political controversy and criticism. Some lawmakers warn the arrangement may lack legal clarity and could be reversed by future governments. Critics argue the system concentrates power in the executive branch and raises transparency concerns. But again, critics accuse the policy of being risky or opaque, not proven personal corruption. 4. Fact-checking the Trump personal bank account. Claim, fact-checkers say there is no credible evidence that the money is in Trump's personal account. So claims that Trump is secretly taking Venezuela's oil money are unproven and not supported by verified reporting. Bottom line, yes, Venezuelan oil revenue is reportedly being parked in Qatari bank accounts. Yes, the US government under Trump is controlling those funds.
All right.
No, there is no verified evidence that the money is going to Trump personally or a private bank for him.
Right. So,
if you want, I can explain the deeper issue.
Oh, let me see.
If you want, I can break down.
There we go. So, obviously there's more details to this, but it is worth knowing that this is unorthodox. This is not normal. You know, and I think that's really the gist of it right there. The fact that it's not normal, it just is too much. It's just too much. You know, but let me play a little more of this.
What we need right now, what we saw happen in July was that the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, the secretary, got a blank check of more than $150 billion under President Trump and congressional Republicans' so-called.
Look at this. There's so many people that don't get what's going on here. I see a few people. You look, Lona, I hope you, Lono, I hope you subscribe. Stella Gibbs, I hope you subscribe. By the way, can you let me know what state you live in and who your healthcare provider is? I'm just curious about that because I like to know that these are Americans, because we're talking about if you really have a strong opinion about this, you know what I mean? And your opinion I see is expressed like at a whim, like, why you believe them? Okay, so let me just know a little about you now. What state do you live in and who's your healthcare provider? Since you know, I see Lonaka. There you go. Lanaka. What's up? What state do you live in and who's the healthcare provider? You see what I mean? Like, it's simple. You know, a lot of these folks in the chat, they don't know what state they live in and they don't have a healthcare provider, but they have an opinion, right? And so I just find that very, very strange. But in any case, you should be able to read between the lines when you hear someone speak, right? And engage it. Now, I don't know what you're talking about. If there's something you disagree with, you need to leave your source. Just say what they said wrong, what they said that's not a lie. Don't just say that's a lie. Say what the lie is. Offer a resource about it. You can actually do that. Okay, there we go. Here we go.
Big Beautiful Bill. This was a blank check that we've seen used against our communities.
Yeah, the Big Beautiful Bill. Is that a fact or is it a lie? Did something called the Big Beautiful Bill get passed this year and signed by Donald J. Trump? If that's a fact, put a 1 in the chat. If that's a lie, put a 2 in the chat. Ones and twos. If there's something called a Big Beautiful Bill that got signed this year by Donald J. Trump, put a 1 in the chat. If it's true, put a 2 in the chat. If it's not, I mean, you see, I can already see this. There must be either some people are on drugs up inside of this chat. I swear, like some folks got ADHD. They just can't settle down into one question, but got the chat on fire with statements after statement after statement. You ask them a question, they can't even settle down to hear your question. I mean, it's ridiculous. Let me see here. Okay, so here we go. See you later, Lanaka, because you just didn't even answer the question. You got about a billion damn, you know what I'm saying? Come on now, just play fair, y'all. I'm not telling you to disagree. I'm telling you to fucking cooperate, goddammit. What the fuck?
Under President Trump.
If you don't cooperate, I'm going to boot your ass out of this chat. How about that? Maybe I should say it that way, okay?
And congressional Republicans, so-called.
You know what I'm saying, Eric? Like, what the fuck is going on here? You think you own this place? Yo. In any case, she's talking about a big, beautiful, ugly bill. A question was asked. Let's get back on topic.
This week joined Republicans to fund the agency. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. So, Congresswoman, Senate Democrats are vowing they're not going to fund DHS, even after 7 House Democrats this week joined Republicans to fund the agency as part of this year's government spending bill. So will Democrats block DHS funding, even if it means a partial government shutdown?
It is beyond ether. It was signed, but this is funding. You know, you have to continue to fund things. You know what I'm saying? Congress controls all funding, all spending. Bills get passed. Those are agreements about, you know, how money, you know, production, I guess you could say, process, you know, agencies, right? What's going to happen, you know, plans. And then there's the funding side. So just to be clear about that. Oh, shit. Damn. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes people do get confused about that, but even some Americans get confused. But then again, listen, y'all. Listen, I'm going to tell you something real quick. If you don't like the U.S. government and what they do, how they pass laws, the laws they pass, then you need to take civics seriously to at least understand how it is, understand how it works, because that will help you, number one, be less frustrated. Number two, pinpoint, you know, where the problems are, and therefore understand who you need to support, who's doing their job, who's not doing their job. If you don't understand civics, you can't be upset at these people for doing anything wrong. You see what I mean? You got to first do your part, you know, and that's the basic. The ground foundation is the civics. Let's see here.
That's what I'd say.
Democrats block DHS funding, even if it means a partial government shutdown.
Do me a favor, click the like button, y'all, if you don't mind.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Alex. Here's what I'd say. what we need right now, what we saw happen in July was that the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, the secretary, got a blank check of more than $150 billion under President Trump and congressional Republicans' so-called Big Beautiful Bill. This was a blank check that we've seen used against our communities, in which American citizens have been shot dead in broad daylight, in which we do not have the kinds of basic guardrails that most Americans want to see, the kind of transparency and professionalism and accountability that are so core to public trust.
Dylan.
And public trust is the lifeblood of public safety. So when this bill came before the House, it came up as a separate bill. We fought really hard to get some basic transparency measures into the bill, basic common sense guardrails that are going to help to make sure that we keep our communities safe. These were rejected last week. The opportunity and the imperative now is for us to come together around common sense guardrails that are going to help keep our communities safe and keep our government funded. I believe that we can get this done. And what we need is the Speaker and the leadership of the Republican leadership in the Senate to do their jobs and to sit down and to get a bill done that every American can get behind. And I believe we can do that.
Can you give me, from a political perspective, though, why those 7 Democrats voted for this bill, and if you think they have regrets having done so today?
I can't speak to the reasons why my colleagues went ahead and voted for this bill. I can tell you that I could not, in good faith, vote in favor of another blank check to Secretary Noem and to a department that is...
Yeah, I think she must be discussing the Congress, because the Senate has to now do their work on it, and it appears the Senate has been is rejecting it. But yeah, this is a good point. I mean, why did 7 Democrats vote for the original funding in the first place? Why didn't they just scrap it and say no? Like, I don't understand it, but people need to know who those Democrats were. So let's see here. Who were? Let me see here. Let me just pull this up for people, because it's important to know there's going to be an election. There's going to be elections coming up. Now, this is who they were. Let me just play them back. Hakeem Jeffries was not one of them. So, yeah, but people are saying he didn't use his whip, his leadership role, to punish
Here are the
them.
7 House Democrats who voted to fund the DHS bill that included money for ICE time. The 7 Democrats. These House members broke with most of their party and voted yes on the Department of Homeland Security DHS funding bill. Henry Cuellar, Texas. Vicente Gonzalez, Texas. Jared Golden, Maine. Marie Gluesenkamp Perez, Washington. Don Davis, North Carolina. Laura Gillen, New York. Tom Suozzi, New York. Context, important. The bill included about $10 billion for ICE and passed the House despite opposition from most Democrats. Only 7 Democrats supported it, while nearly all other Democrats voted against it. The vote happened amid backlash over ICE actions and shootings in Minnesota, which intensified controversy around.
Right. So there you have it. Yeah. I'm not sure why they voted for that, but in any case,
terrorizing our communities, undermining trusted local law enforcement partners, and really not keeping our communities safe, not undermining the basic responsibilities of Congress for oversight. You know, the measures that we were fighting to put into this bill are common sense and ones I believe the vast majority of Americans would want to see put into law, because most Americans want to see our laws enforced. They want our communities to be safe from dangerous criminals. They don't want to see masked federal agents terrorizing communities and shooting American citizens dead. So this is, all I can tell you is that we have an opportunity here to do the right thing. This bill should be treated separately from the other funding bills, and we can get this done before the deadline of the end of this month.
Well, that is, yeah, they can get it done. That's 2 days, right? Tomorrow's the 30th, and then you got the 31st. Yeah, and I already heard Mike Johnson told told, well, it's out of Mike Johnson's hands now. It's out of Congress's hands. But in any case, let's get to the next part. This is now it's inside of the Senate. So let's go.
Are united on a set of common sense and necessary policy goals that we need to rein in ICE and end the violence. Our caucus is unified over three main legislative objectives. First, we want to end roving patrols. We need to tighten the rules governing the use of warrants and require ICE's coordination with state and local law enforcement. Second, we want to enforce accountability. There needs to be a uniform code of conduct and accountability. Federal agents should be held to the same use of force policies that apply to state and local law enforcement and be held accountable when they violate these rules, including we need independent investigations to help enforce accountability. Third, we want masks off, body cameras on. Federal agents must be prohibited from wearing masks. They must be required to use body cameras, and they also always have to carry proper identification. No more anonymous agents.
Yes. I mean, listen, this is how it works. This is how it works. You work for the civilians of the United States of America. If you're a police officer, and it doesn't matter if you're a state or federal agent, if you're in the military, if you work for government, you work for the American people. Each American citizen has the right to know who the fuck they're dealing with and who they can complain with. Who are you? Why are you stopping me? I need to see it out on your chest. I need to see your face. Everybody around here, every camera on this block needs to know who you are, and everybody else. If we're all paying for you, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And this is what I mean by fascism. Like the fact that it's your tax dollars that they're using to beat you upside the head. Look, why are you wearing a mask if you're following the law? And then they have the nerve to say, no, they're scared of you. This is what they're saying. They're literally saying they're scared of the civilians, and the civilians are the one paying them. If you so motherfucking scared, how can you be scared of people that pay your salary? What is that all about? How can you be so scared of people that pay your salary? But this is what ICE is arguing every fucking day of the week. Every day of the week. But let's hear what Schuman's saying. He got some demands. This is coming out of the Senate. They got 2 days to pass some legislation. If they don't pass it, ICE ain't getting funded. They already got a lot of money in advance, but other agencies won't get funded too. A lot of other stuff is going to happen. Why?
The caucus, Senate Democrats are united on a set of common sense and necessary policy goals.
Oh, yeah. Congrats, Eric. Congrats.
That we need to rein in ICE and end the violence. Our caucus is unified over three main legislative objectives. First, we want to end roving patrols. We need to tighten the rules governing the use of warrants and require ICE's coordination with state and local law enforcement.
Meme 363. What state do you live in, and who is your health care provider? Taking notes.
Second,
what's up?
We want to enforce accountability. There needs to be a uniform code of conduct.
Jake K7E. What state do you live in, and who is your health care provider?
And accountability. Federal agents should be held to the same use of force policies that apply to state and local law enforcement and be held accountable when they violate these rules, including we need independent investigations to help enforce accountability. Third, we want masks off, body cameras on. Federal agents must be prohibited from wearing masks. They must be required to use body cameras, and they also always have to carry proper identification. No more anonymous agents. No more secret operatives. These are common sense reforms, ones that Americans know and expect from law enforcement. If Republicans...
Geometric Unity 8487 says, I'm in Pennsylvania and I have private health care. Hard, right? No. What private health care you talking about? What is that, through your job? Just curious about that.
Refuse to support them.
I mean, your job uses a company. Do you know that? You don't know what healthcare agreement you got with your company? You don't know who your provider is? That's weird. That, to me, that sounds phony.
Choosing chaos over order, plain and simple. They are choosing to
okay, crowd health, private care. Okay, there you go. That's all I ask. Don't come in here and get belligerent with me. I'm asking questions. I know exactly why I'm asking the question. Don't question me about that. I'm asking the question for a reason, so I know who's in the chat making statements. Is it a real person or is it a person that's full of shit? That's all. That's all. You can disagree. I don't have a problem with that. It's just I don't want people taking up space that aren't real. You know what I'm saying?
Accountability over American lives. Let me be clear. Democrats stand ready today to pass the 5 bipartisan bills in the Senate.
Oh, you don't understand the point? Oh, okay, no problem. You don't understand that point. Sorry. Okay, there you go. This is something I do every day. You don't get the point? Okay.
But
I thought I explained the point.
DHS bill needs serious work.
What's up, Dennis?
And Republicans and Democrats alike owe it to the American people to get it right.
People crazy, man. So I don't get the point. Yeah, and so you don't get the point. Why are you here? Because I got the right to ask you a question, you know? So you don't get my point, but you're still going to have to answer. It's some funny shit.
They've already gotten a paycheck and they still have some leeway, so the impacts fundamentally will be different.
Yeah, as y'all can see, this is the Senate discussing why this bill is not, why the funding's not going to happen anytime soon. So the government's going to go into shutdown in 2 days if they don't concede to reasonable people's demands, you know.
Not entirely. I mean, you still have the uncertainty that comes with it. I mean, yes, you may get this paycheck. Am I going to get the next one? I mean, the last government shutdown the Democrats put us into, they kept it going for 43 days. And, you know, honestly, it's not necessary. Government shutdowns don't benefit anyone. I've said this many times before. And so, in my view at least, and I think the view of all of us, we ought to pass the package on the floor, fully fund the government, and move on to other things that the American people expect us to work on.
President Trump has repeatedly urged the passing of the SAVE Act, as well as many MAGA Republicans. What is the holdup in the Senate? Why hasn't that been brought to the floor for a vote? And what's your stance on requiring proof of citizenship to vote in elections?
Well, I'm for that. I've co-sponsored the SAVE Act in the past. I think my understanding is that they are still modifying the bill. It includes right now a requirement that you be a citizen to register to vote, but it doesn't include a requirement that to vote.
You have to be a citizen to register to vote? What are you talking about? You already have to be a citizen to register to vote. What do you have to rewrite? Why do you have to write what's already written in the Constitution? What the hell is up with that? What is up with this? You know, this bullshit that this is like something that they're just using for their base. Their base must be stupid as shit. Like, listen, it's very simple. No one knows a person that's not an American citizen that's ever fucking voted, you know? So what is this all about? What is this all about? This is crazy, you know?
You'd be a resident. So in other words, if you're going to have...
You haven't heard one person, you haven't seen one person go on any media, including Fox, saying, well, yeah, here's my sister. My sister ain't a citizen and she voted. Tell us how she voted. There's nobody even on right-wing media saying that that's ever happened. There's not been one witness. And they up here talking about this shit like it's crazy.
Past, I think my understanding for that.
Listen to this. He's talking about the reason why it hasn't been brought to the floor yet.
President Trump has repeatedly urged the passing of the SAVE Act, as well as many MAGA Republicans. What is the holdup in the Senate? Why hasn't that been brought to the floor for a vote? And what's your stance on requiring citizenship to vote in elections.
Well, I'm for that. I've co-sponsored the SAVE Act in the past. I think my understanding is that they are still modifying the bill. It includes right now a requirement that you be a citizen to register to vote, but it doesn't include a requirement that to vote you be a resident. So in other
Hello. You can't vote on a state level, even if first of all, if you're a resident, you can't vote for any federal, you can't vote for president, congressperson, any federal election you cannot vote for. Secondly, a resident can vote state and state city council elections just in the area where they live, the immediate area where they live. They don't have an effect on anybody else in any other part of the country, right? Now, if you collect taxes from them, how are you going to achieve this? What about taxation without representation? You see, so that's a problem on the state level, but in any case, you can't. It's almost like they're trying to say, they're writing a law to say you can't vote if you're not a resident on the state level now. So they got two different types of votings that they want to insert text into it, language that already is applied. What the fuck are they talking about? Again, where are the people that are voting illegally? Go on TV and start interviewing these people. Show us the people. Like, where has this happened? It hasn't happened anywhere. And listen, this is stupid. Like, this is MAGA people right here. These are Republicans. Look, Senate Republican leaders. Not that you have to even know any of them by name. Not that it even has to say Senate Republicans. You can just know who it is by how they talking. The stupid shit that's coming out of their mouth. Yo, that's how I knew it was Republican. They talking about putting text in a law saying that you can't vote if you're not a citizen, and you can't vote if you're not a resident. Okay, this is the same thing about the new Greenland deal Donald Trump has. He's talking about a deal. They went up there, they talked, they got a new deal, and the deal is the same deal they had before. This is the same thing he's been doing. He did that shit with Canada too. This is the same thing. They're negotiating something they already have.
In other words, if you're going to have what we call voter ID or photo ID, when somebody goes into the ballot box to vote, that's not currently covered in the bill. So that's been fixed.
Photo ID. Okay, so photo ID input. But it doesn't matter because only one person can vote. Are they literally trying to say they don't know this is what this is about, obviously. They're trying to say that there's a significant amount of people that died last year and somebody is getting their voter information and going in and voting in their name. This is the only thing it can be about. So somebody's committing fraud to have a vote. So how systemic is that? I mean, it's just crazy, man.
And addressed, and I think the new bill that comes out hopefully will.
Notice they're not spending all this time talking about your health care, though. That's not what the Republicans are doing. They're not spending all this time talking about safety. They're not spending all this time talking about, why is money going to goddamn Qatar from the oil? Why is the U.S. government opening a Qatarian bank account? It's like ridiculous. They're talking about some shit that really is not an issue.
Deal with that. But, I mean, at some point, we'll have that vote. I'm for it. I think most of our colleagues in the Senate are. And I don't, it hasn't had consideration in the relevant committee yet. But I know there's a high level of interest among our members in getting a vote on SAVE Act.
Yeah, this is some bullshit. You've never seen, there's nobody in here that's ever seen on Fox News one person go up there and show that they voted in a state election or a federal election without a citizenship, state election without an actual resident. They haven't brought people up there, and they would easily be able to do that if that was an issue. That's what you do with all issues. When you want to talk about healthcare, you bring some healthcare facts up. When you want to talk about other things, you bring facts up. You have discussions publicly. You've never seen anybody them bring anyone forward. This is a manufactured problem he's talking about. I mean, this is crazy. It's crazy, but they're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to talk it up, and you're going to pay the money. You know, keep in mind, you're getting less services now and your taxes haven't gone down. You pay the same amount of taxes when you had health care. Think about this. Do you know what percentage of the federal dollars, the federal taxes, go to just health care? Do you know how much of your taxes that you pay federal go to health care in the United States of America? Do you know that? Do you know what percentage is? What do you think the percentage is? Let's play a game. You let me know what the percentage is right now, and I'm going to look it up. Let me see what the chat is saying. I want to know who knows. You know what I'm saying? Like, really. And I don't want to have a whole bunch of comments, you know, that don't have something to do with telling me what percentage you think it is, because this is about knowing shit. OK, and it's OK to say you don't know something. OK, now, I myself, I don't like to have strong opinions about things that when I can't even answer basics about it myself. I'm just going to be honest. Right. So what you talking about? Statistics are controlled. Yeah, but they're still useful, my friend. They're still useful. OK, just because they controlled. Yeah. Hamburgers controlled, too. Rice and pudding is controlled. Yeah. Water's controlled. What? I mean, come on. You know, everything is controlled. But what does that mean? Come on, Dale. Come on now. Dale, you got to come better than that, bro. Like, seriously, man. Come with it. Yeah, thank you. There we go. So let's see what the real number is. I see you, Dennis. You said, now listen, you people, just listen up. Just listen up, because this is you. You know what I'm saying? And I looked this up the other day, so I had an idea what I was talking about when I asked the question, but let's you hear it.
Here's a clear, data-based answer to what share of U.S. taxes go to healthcare, Medicare's Medicaid plus other health programs. Share of U.S. taxes spent on healthcare, federal government, most important number. In recent years, 27 to 30% of the federal budget goes to healthcare. Medicare buys 16% of federal spending, Medicaid, CHIP plus ACA subsidies, other programs, the 11 to 13%. So roughly, about 1 out of every 4 federal tax dollars goes to healthcare. Combined federal plus state, local taxes. If you include state and local spending, especially Medicaid, healthcare accounts for about 25 to 33% of all government spending in the US. Share of the entire US economy, not just taxes. For context, US healthcare spending equals 17 to 19% of GDP, highest in the world, but that includes government spending, private insurance, out-of-pocket spending, employer contributions. So it's bigger than just taxes. Simple breakdown, easy to visualize. If you pay $100 in federal taxes, 16 Medicare, 12 as Medicaid, ACA, public health, etc. $72 everything else, military, social security, interest, etc. Total healthcare, $28 out of $100. Key insight, why this matters. Even though the US spends a huge share of taxes on healthcare, Americans still pay premiums, deductibles, and co-pays. Many countries spend less tax money and cover everyone fully.
Right. So there you have that. Now, so while they're talking about this other stuff, you know, I think, see, this is what I'm saying. I think I'm going to tell you something. Like, you can learn some of you all, and this is not a big deal. I had some great mentors. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had really great mentors. Like, number one, I had my father, which was an excellent mentor. Now, you need to, whoever didn't get anywhere close to that number, you need to reevaluate some things. Don't be afraid to go back to the drawing board and clear that up, because there's a reason why I brought that up. That's 20 something percent, over 20% of the federal budget. That's a big chunk of the tax dollars you're paying to the federal government. That, you see, now to pay that much and not get any, do you find that a problem? To pay this much. And I know trolls don't pay taxes and you're not even American citizens, so your opinion don't really even count. So if you're a troll in the chat, shut the fuck up on this one. Do me a favor. Let everybody have a real conversation. Now, if you think 20-something% is okay for you to be paying in your federal taxes to healthcare and not guilt healthcare, if you think that's okay, put a 1 in the chat. If you think that's bullshit, put a 2 in the chat. I'm just curious, you know. Everybody that's listening, I hope you all having a good time. Even the people not in the chat, do me a favor, pick up your remote and click the like button and subscribe, please. It helps the I think it helps the stream get out to more people. I myself, if I don't mind saying something, I think it's bullshit. And I think this issue needs to be taken a little more fucking serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't understand people sometimes. Anyway, let me just go ahead, because sorry, John, but you full of shit right now. Even some of the people that was fucking around early in the chat are like, what? Is that much? Fuck no, this ain't right. Now we got John in there. No, I think it's perfectly fine. Damn, John, your daddy, man, must be disappointed in you, man. Damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, I can understand not, having an opinion and not actually knowing the facts. You know what I'm saying? Now that you know the facts, you might want to readjust. Some of y'all might want to readjust your opinion on this topic. You might want to take this serious. And Dennis, by the way, pointed out that in Denmark, here where I live too, I'm an American citizen, born and raised in Washington, D.C. Family on both sides go back to the colonial period. But as a grown ass man, I live in Denmark. You know what I'm saying? And we pay 17% of our taxes goes to healthcare. And that healthcare includes elder care. It includes a whole lot. Child care, elder care, sick. Child care. Yeah, whatever that means. No, it doesn't. It's not the child care. It's healthcare. So that's elder care is in there. Help for the handicap is also in there. And help for everybody else. Operation or see that, your doctor visit and all of that stuff is paid for. So we pay less, but everybody has it here. You see, in the U.S., you pay more, and people is paying that don't even have it, and they not even concerned about that. A lot of people. Some of these people got the nerve to come in here actually talking shit and not even know nothing about their own tax dollars. Ain't that some bullshit? Isn't that some bullshit? Any case, let's keep it going, because this is why I say shut this shit down, because this ain't working. This is not working. Not only are you getting beat in the head, threatened, turning into a police state, but you're forced to pay that much in taxes, and it doesn't even fucking get you healthcare. 20% of your tax dollars you paying for some, and you can't even get a benefit from that at all. That is bullshit. Look at this. Somebody said, I have free health care as an American. Okay, gotta block you because you definitely are not an American. Okay, let's go.
Must pass a funding bill by Friday night in order to avoid another government shutdown. And at this moment, the conventional wisdom is that a shutdown is unavoidable. And that is because 7 Senate Democrats will be needed to get the 60 votes required. And in response to the shooting death of Alex Preddy in Minneapolis, Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says his party will not support the part of the bill which includes funding for Homeland Security. So joining us now is Mitchell Miller, Capitol Hill reporter with our news partner WTOP. Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure thing.
And tell us a little bit what you're hearing right now about where things stand with this.
Well, I wish I could tell you something different, that we were more optimistic about this.
No. What they got right now, Dale Tanner, is they got the big, beautiful, ugly bill. That's what they got. You didn't realize that? The subsidies subsided last year, and that's why people are paying 3 times more for health care than they paid last year. Did you realize that? Now, yeah. So don't try to blame this on Obama. You got amnesia, buddy. Like, for real. You better stop smoking weed or do whatever the fuck it is that's making you lose your memory. Stop that. That's not cool, actually. The reason why people are paying 2, 3, 4 times more for healthcare this year is because of the big, beautiful, ugly bill. And that was just stated. Pay attention, man. Pay attention.
Ironically, we headed into this week before last weekend thinking that this would actually be approved and the shutdown would be avoided. But obviously, everything that you just mentioned in connection with what happened in Minneapolis totally turned things around. And Senate Democrats are dug in right now. They are not going to go along with this 6 appropriation bill package. Republicans, meanwhile, still want.
Okay, Dale, you was being funny, huh? Well, don't be funny, because there's people. It's good. I'm glad you're telling me that, but there's people that are watching and will look at your comments and not know you like that, man. So, but in any case, people like to have fun. It's all good.
To try to move it forward. Really, the reason why this is all happening is because the Democrats say if you pull this out, you can still get the whole thing passed except for the Department of Homeland Security, and they could still keep the government funded. But the Republicans don't want to do that because if they alter it, it has to go back to the House. And there is a lot of concern about whether or not DHS funding could again be approved by the House. So right now we're kind of in a stalemate. Senate Majority Leader John Thune does say that there are some talks going forward in connection with Democrats, but essentially he says it's really going to be between the White House and Democrats.
Yeah, you kind of walked through just now the options for this moving forward.
Now, let me just see something.
What could happen, because you mentioned there are 6 components here. Talk to us about the potential impact to our area for workers. You know, there are several other large agencies like TSA that could be impacted in this. Tell us why and how this might impact our local workers.
Right. Well, so even though it's called a partial government shutdown, keep in mind that this is between 75 to 80% of the funding for the federal government. So yes, we are talking about TSA, we are talking about FEMA, we are talking about transportation workers, and a lot of people really affected by defense spending. That's the biggest component of this. And
you see, you know, now going back to MAGA, right? Didn't MAGA say that they were tired of foreign wars, right? So obviously this would be a place for MAGA people to chime in, right? So MAGA people, first of all, your taxes, you heard the man. You have a socialized military. It's one of the biggest socialized projects in the United States of America, socialism projects, you know. It's paid for 100% by taxpayers, right? Now, factually, now, are you cool with that? Do you like 70% of the federal budget? Do you like that much of your tax dollars? If you don't know, I'm only saying this. I shouldn't have to say this, but some people don't know this. Tax dollars are what you pay. We're talking about payroll taxes. When you go to work every hour, when you work for someone else, some of the money out of your paycheck is deducted first and sent to the federal government, some of it sent to the state government for services for you, right? Some of the service money is going to the military, right? Funding. And if you look, you can see the military is all around the world, the U.S. military, right? So the question is, do you think that's cool? Do you support that? Or should everybody say, no, we don't want that. Shut the government down. We won't fund that. So if you're against, and this is a good question for Dems also. So I'm just going to ask everybody this time, put in whether you're a Dem or a Republican or independent, and let me know, do you support this or not? So that would be, for myself, I would say I support it. Shutting down the government because of this defense spending. Put a 2 if you don't support it, and tell me what party you with, or if you're left, right, if you're a Dem, if you're a Republican or independent. I'm a Dem, and I support the shutdown, so I'm putting 1. All right, so let me do it like this: 1 Dem. I don't. I support a shutdown. There we go. Very, very simple. Now, Uno, there you go. And if you want it, if you think it should be paid for, and you don't, put a 2 in the chat and let me know what your political affiliation is if I don't know you, right? Because I want to see what Republicans say on this one. You see, they in a corner now, all huddled in and shit, trying to figure out how to reply to this one. Because they want to seem like they were the ones that want to cut down the foreign wars. Well, how you going to do that when you're increasing the damn budget? You know, if you don't live here, what does it matter? I'm an American citizen, Dale. Are you an American citizen, Dale? If you don't live here, what does it matter? Man, that is a dumbass. You know what? I'm sorry, Dale. You asking stupid questions, man. Grow up, man. You got to come back when you're ready to be a big boy. All right, wear the big boy pants and shit. You know, there's that question is so stupid in so many goddamn ways. I mean, listen, if you don't live here, why does it matter? First of all, I'm an American citizen. Second of all, the dialogue that's being created with others about this topic. People are getting information that they may not always get. I mean, and if you got all this information, then beat it, man. You don't need to be here. You know everything. All right. But I want to learn things. I want to dialogue with people, you know, in any case. So let me see here. Let me just go back. Let me see who didn't answer that question. Curly, if you're in the house, let me know if you support the funding and what political party you're with. If you Dem or Republican, put a 1 in the chat. If you want it to be shut down and you don't support all this spending going to the military, and put a 2 in the chat if you do support it. Dang, did you answer? Clark, did you answer? Josh, did you answer? Are these all troll accounts? What's going on here? Kristen, did you answer? Let's go. Let me know what you think.
What this could mean is we may have a shutdown perhaps for a few days if they can work out a deal, or it could go a lot longer. I don't think we're going to be looking at anything like the longest government shutdown ever, which of course happened last year, 43 days. I think they will be able to work something out, but certainly it's going to have a huge impact here in the Washington area on federal workers who are still reeling, frankly, from what happened last year.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how might this compare if we do have a shutdown here come Friday?
Okay, what's up, France? I see you in there, Hazel.
Friday. Mitchell, what comes next? How long could we anticipate this playing out? What are we looking at in that scenario?
Well, the one thing that both Democrats and Republicans do have in common right now is they really don't want an extended shutdown. There is an area of agreement here that reforms need to be made in connection with ICE and the Border Patrol. You've seen it with Republican senators who have spoken out about what's happened. There is obviously a lot of concern about the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, and what her future is. But I think what they're trying to do is basically, as they usually do, find an off-ramp. What can they do that both sides can agree to?
All right. So in any case, it hasn't happened, and that's good enough to know that, right? It hasn't happened, and what is it? Oh, let me see that. Jay Burr said they just got off of a shutdown not long ago. Yeah, exactly. But that was they kicked the can. That was just a temporary funding. So they kicked the can 2 months to the end of January. So yeah, so that's what happened. Actually, I even think it was just 1 month that they kicked the can, right? But yeah, so that was temporary funding, and now they're back at it again. This is appropriations, House appropriations, so they have to do this, and they can fund it for as long as they want. But if they don't agree on everything, then it's going to be kicking the can again. You see what I mean? So yeah, that's how it's done. And you know, my thoughts on this are like, there's just, to me, it sounds politically like he's saying the right thing, but what's out there in the data, you know, according to the polls, the majority of American people are, number one, the majority of Dems are not for funding the government as long as ICE has any fucking thing to do with anything, period. That's where the majority of Democrats are at right now because of how ICE has been behaving. Right, killing American citizens, arresting American citizens, deporting American citizens, torturing American citizens, and disturbing everyday life. You can't be a fucking nuisance, and that's what ICE has become, a goddamn public nuisance. So, and then, you know, but then there's this thing about the defense. I mean, you just heard that 70% of the budget. That's a lot. Healthcare, 20. We just went over that. 20-something% of the federal budget of the tax dollars you pay to the federal government out of your payroll taxes goes to healthcare. You know how many people will be paying for help, paying taxes for health care they can't even get. Like, why are more American people not pissed off about that? Like, that should be across the line. That should bother every MAGA voter, every Trump voter. That should bother every voter. But yet, where's the outrage from MAGA about the health care? That's crazy. You know, too many MAGA voters just vote opposite of Democrat and don't know a damn thing about what's going on with their tax dollars. That's the problem in the United States. You know, uneducated people vote opposite of educated people. That's what they do. They just, I don't like you because of how you talk, how you look, your color, you acting a little spicy, whatever the you know what I'm saying? Whatever your ethnicity, your religion. I'm not going to vote over that. I'm going to do whatever you do because I don't like something about you. I'm going to do the opposite of what you say. That's how a lot of them vote, you know. I'm sorry, but Americans, when it comes to civics and it comes to taxes, delinquent, totally delinquent on their business. You know, everybody else's goddamn Western society is running more smoothly and cheaper, by the way, more affordable than the United States of fucking America. And it did not get better under Trump. It got worse. So if you didn't like Biden, you got some nerve liking Trump, like,
without upsetting everything. And I think they're,
in any case. So next business at hand, Ilhan. Everybody's seen Ilhan get assaulted by this maniac dog that, you know, came to Trump's rescue, repeating, you know, talking points that Trump has and shit. And, you know, somebody went out there and tried to attack her. Well, she has now, you know, spoken up. They've now interviewed her. So these are her words.
Congressman, it's good to see you.
Yes, good to see you. Welcome to Minneapolis.
How are you doing after last night?
I'm doing okay.
Can you take us through what happened in your head at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I arrived at my town hall just a little after it started. And I got on the podium to introduce local reps who usually come to my town hall to give local updates. You know, as you know, we do monthly town halls.
You do one every month,
One every
right?
month
Yeah.
since I've been elected. And then, you know, I went...
Jay Bird, exactly. Look, Jay Bird said, I had my legs crushed in 2005. And when I went for help, they told me I didn't qualify. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, it's one thing to be political, to have a political party and you don't always vote with the same way another party votes. That's one thing. But common goddamn sense tells me that every motherfucking American, no matter what party you're with, should be concerned about what you just said, let alone what we were just discussing about how much you pay for not getting it. See, you had health care and then they said you don't qualify. But there's loads of people that can't even get what you had. They can't even get any health care, and they're paying 20% of their federal taxes. Federal payroll taxes is going to nothing. Like,
into my own updates of what has been happening, and I remember seeing someone say something close. I was reading, so I wasn't like
looking,
you know,
out,
at that moment. I remember feeling like someone was saying something close to me.
No.
And I looked up, and there was a man plunging towards me. And there was like some liquid thing that I, at the moment, thought it was like a spit. And so I, you know, instinctively tried to like punch him, basically, for trying to spit on me.
You thought he was spitting on you?
Yes, because there's some liquid that hit my folder and the podium, and then I could feel maybe something.
So you thought a guy had come up and spit at you?
That's what I thought. And then I heard,
which
yes.
is why you did this.
Well, I mean, that was... You know, I was raised with 3 brothers who are older than me, and so, you know, you learn that maybe taking the first punch when somebody is bigger than you yields you better results.
You, obviously, security tackled him. It looks like he
Yeah, I wasn't able to make contact with him.
You did not,
No.
yes. Although that image has gotten everywhere today.
Yeah, he was saved by the security.
He was saved by the security.
Yeah.
I guess my question to you is, you have been the subject of endless and basically constant threats, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in your time in public life, the president eggs them on. He clearly paints a target at you. After this happened, he said she probably set it up. It was a false flag, like she set it up to do to herself. Have you acclimated to this to a degree, or is there some part of you that still feels freaked out when something like that happens?
You know what? I understand this all to be is an intimidation tactic. Whether it is the president's deranged rants, attacking me, my family.
Exactly. You know, it is intimidation, and they're making threats. Is basically these are death threats essentially, but they're coming in like a in a manner that to keep the person nervous, to never know when it's going to occur, when it's going to be the person. Now, this time it's just some fluid. Next time you don't know what it could be, and this is the country. You got to understand something. This is the country that, people have decided they're okay with. People have decided that this is the kind of politics that they're going to do. Death threats. And this is not, in my mind, you should have a problem with this no matter who death threats are made towards. You should have a problem with that, right? But far too many Americans don't, and for me, I can understand why it's problematic, right? Even if it happens to a Republican, right? Because it's very simple. Who does it affect? You might think you're getting something out of like a public official by threatening them, but no, you're actually being robbed of your right. Every citizen should be against this, because if you have public servants that are scared to do their job, that's the opposite of democracy. Even if they don't vote the way you want, they're serving a population of people. So the goal to change it is, let's have a conversation with the people. It shouldn't be to threaten their leadership. But if you really go into it, this is what it is in the United States of America. Like, to go into Congress, to go into the Senate, and a lot of these people just instantly get death threats every single day. You see what I mean? And that's wrong, because the only thing that can come from that is basically lack of democracy. It is the opposite of democracy. That's what it's doing. And a lot of people think it doesn't affect them, right? But actually, it can affect you even if it's not direct. It can be indirect, But I'm only speaking for sensible people. I know that a lot of Americans don't see any problem with that, because that's the country they've always had. You've had that in the 50s, death threats. That was normal. You know what I'm saying? And you had politicians murdered, Kennedy, right? You've had this. Lincoln was murdered. So a lot of Americans think Martin Luther King was murdered, political figures were murdered, and politicians were murdered. So a lot of people think that this is a joke. These are the ignorant people. But ask yourself, is your country any better? You've been the richest country for how long? You've far exceeded. You're the richest country that's ever existed on the face of the planet in human history. How better off are you for it? Are you better than you were in the 50s? See, and I have to say, if you look at how much the GDP has gone up, the GDP has grown a lot. But what about everyday lifestyle? Has that gone up? You see, how about in terms of crime? Has crime gone down, or is crime just the same and getting more bigger? Right? How about poverty? Is that how's that doing? How's poverty doing? You see what I mean? And if you look at the U.S., I mean, I think it's struggling behind other Western countries that have smaller GDPs. And again, if you want to work on yourself, you have to look at yourself and look at what you're not doing right. You can't always find an excuse why, it's like this because they did it, or oh, it's like no. This is a combination of the totality of all Americans when they come to vote. The majority of Americans vote for the country you get right now. The majority of the country voted for the one you got 2 years ago. And the majority of the country voted for the one you got before that. And the one before you got before that too. And the one before that. I mean, maybe sometimes it's the person who got less votes, but the electoral votes are already there. But maybe the popular vote that you don't always win, but that's still half the country. That's way too many people voting for stupid shit. Way too many people voting for things that they don't have in common instead of things they have in common. You see what I mean? Everyone should want a cheap light bill. Everyone should want affordable housing. Everyone should want health care. Everyone should want their kids to have access to the best education. Everyone should higher education, technical schools. Everyone should want that, but yet that's not what Americans are voting for, consistently.
Family and my community, or whether it is, this deranged person showing up trying to assault me, is that they want to intimidate me from public life. And I am not one to be intimidated. And, I could hear people saying there were liquids and all of this, but I wasn't feeling an impact, and nobody around me seemed to be feeling an impact. So my first instinct was to say, let's not give him what he wanted, which was for us to run, for me to be cleared out of the room, for our town hall and my ability to perform the duties in which I was elected by my constituents to do. And so regardless of what that was, if it wasn't hindering me at that moment, it was my duty to continue to do my job. And I know that
Norm. Listen, facts, Norm. See, if I can, you have to understand that people are going to be different. People are going to be different. That's a good thing. Some people live in the mountains. Some people live in the valley. Some people live on the seaside. Some people live in rural areas. Some people live in cities. Some people live in suburbs. Those are differences. So, there's going to be differences in how people view culture. There's going to be issues on how people want tax dollars spent. Maybe some people need more on roads. Maybe some people need more on infrastructure than other areas. It could be different. I could see how a person growing up in a big city would want clean energy, clean cars, clean transportation, these kind of things. Why? Because it affects their everyday life, because there's more of them living in closer proximity to each other. That's just basic math. A person that lives in a suburb should not want to, or not a suburb, a rural area should not want to interfere in people in cities having clean air. That's stupid. You don't gain anything from that. You see what I mean? And again, people living in cities should not want to stop policies that are good for rural areas out there in the rural areas. You see what I mean? So when you come to looking at the federal government, there's a lot of different things that need to be happening. Some things need to happen that don't really make sense in a city. Other things need to happen that don't really make sense in a rural area. But you still need to come together to get those things done. You still need to come together to get those things done. And if you have a bunch of people saying, well, if you don't do this, I won't do this, or you're doing this, so then since you're doing that, and we don't like you doing that, even though we're not affected by it, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to vote against that because we don't want you doing anything right. It's like, it's crazy. That's not how other Western countries are really functioning. Sure, there's fighting and there's bickering and there's things you don't always get your way. But the main shit, the grown people shit, oh my God. The United States is not on grown fucking people time. Like seriously, it's not on grown fucking people time. Not at all. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. Sorry, y'all. Because the people in the chat, y'all get me. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but damn.
The president is trying to gaslight us, but that's not surprising because, this is a government that came out and said, Alex was brandishing a gun. When, we know that's not what happened in all the videos that we have seen. So they're basically trying to tell us not to believe our own eyes. We saw them shoot Renee Good point blank in the head. And they told us that she was trying to hit the officers and that she was some sort of domestic terrorist. When in the video it says, dude, I'm not mad at you, right? Like that's the most cool thing that you can say to someone to de-escalate anything. And they told us that the car was going towards them when you can clearly see that she's trying to maneuver the car around them. And so it is very clear that we cannot trust a single word that comes out of President Trump's mouth and the rest of his administration. They continuously lie. We know that the search that they have here, this occupation that they have created by DHS agents, even though they told us it was to crack down on, undocumented people who are violent criminals, worst of the worst, we've seen them break into the cars of innocent people. That young woman who's like, I'm disabled, I'm trying to make it to my doctor.
Right. None of these people they're shooting are breaking into ICE vehicles, smashing their windows. None of these people they're shooting are doing that. When you look at how the Jan 6 went, they were smashing windows. They went in there and the police still didn't shoot. And only until the last minute did one officer shoot one bullet. And they were like, oh, man, you can't shoot us. What the fuck? It's like they went ballistic. Now they're out on the street shooting people that aren't even confronting them really. I mean, you have the right to confront. You don't have the right to assault. You don't have the right to destroy property. That's different, right? But, they're shooting people that aren't destroying property, that aren't assaulting them. They're literally shooting them. I mean,
doctor's appointment, or whether it's the young man in the Riverside who's on a lunch break and is trying to tell them, I have my passport with me, I have my documents, I'm a U.S. citizen, or whether it is.
They went into a consulate. Did you see that, Hayes Fly? They went into a consulate. Exactly. They did, y'all. It's coming. Watch.
Family that is just trying to pick up their, young child from child care, which is what we saw with Liam and his dad in Columbia Heights, which is also in my district.
You know what? This culture war is crazy. Look, another example of this, because somebody brought up a point, climate change is for the rural areas too, but they don't get it though. They don't get it, but they will get it. They should get it. You're going to have fires. You're going to have flooding. You're going to have all of that, but they don't get it when urban cities talk about it, because urban cities talk about climate change differently, right? Different parts of the country have different issues because of climate change, right? And also pollution have different issues because of pollution, but how they talk about it is a little different, and so it just creates some polarization, lack of people connecting to the issues. But another example is abortion. Look, you don't have to get an abortion if you don't believe in abortions. You don't have to get one. No one's forcing you to get abortion. Nobody forces a woman to get an abortion. Women get abortions because they want to. So if it's against your faith, great. Look, Ilhan is a Muslim. Is it against her faith? It likely is against her faith, right? I don't know personally because I don't know her that well. I don't know her personally. But let's just say it is, right? Let's say she's a conservative. Let's say she's a Muslim conservative, right? Let's say she's against that. And let's say she's very particular about situations like that, right? Becoming pregnant and how that happens and having, just becoming pregnant in the first place. Some women are very, very conservative. So that's their right to be conservative. I can't force them to be conservative. I shouldn't judge them, right? But what they will do is one group of people will say, try to judge another and say, you shouldn't have an abortion. What? What are you talking about? That's the opposite of freedom. Freedom is you. No one telling you what to do. That is exactly what freedom is. And yet another culture war is created out of it. You know, someone wanting to tell someone else what to do instead of them understanding that, no, this means I have the freedom to do what I feel is best as a person, as an individual. You're not owned by anybody, you know, and, you know, it's crazy. And again, this is the same thing with ICE. They want you to have a certain opinion. And if you don't have a certain opinion, he sends the police out. He sends ICE out to your communities to terrorize the communities. Like, seriously, just because they didn't vote for him, that's what he's going to do. Just because, and a lot of these women, like I think Renee woman, they said she was a gay woman. That might have been why the guy's fucking angry, so angry at her. You know, you never know, but that's another issue. That's her body. That's her life. They have the right to live their life however they want. They pay taxes too, and they pay taxes to help you live your life the way you want. You know, and a lot of Americans, not all. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but in the U.S., it's this polarization. I hope people talk more about this polarization and how it doesn't make sense. And because, listen, as long as it's there and there's these inconsistencies and people are misunderstanding things, not just each other, but misunderstanding civics, misunderstanding where the tax dollars goes to, misunderstanding the core things you need to know to get something out of your day-to-day life, out of your work, out of your taxes. If you don't know the civics, right, and how it connects to your life, you can't make a responsible decision about anything. If you don't know how civics works, the law, what your personal freedoms are, what someone else's freedom is, if you don't know how these things work, you can't make good decisions, you know, and it's clear we haven't gotten there in the U.S., man. We haven't gotten there totally. We could be there. We could be the best at it. But right now, man, we're going to have to take the back seat and learn from some other people because some other people are leading the way, you know?
They are not going after the worst of the worst. They are
Yo, Ron, what's up?
Terrorizing us.
Charlie, what's up?
And that is essentially because this is about retribution.
310, what's up?
This is about the fact that we didn't vote for him.
Titan,
this is the
what's
fact
up?
that we are a community that is strong, that is...
Yo, Italy is fucking dissing ICE. What the fuck? Did you see that shit? Absolutely. That's crazy. I mean, this administration is off the hinges. Off the hinges. When you got Italy talking about ICE, is a Gestapo group?
Is resilient, that is strong, that shows the best of America.
I mean, we're in a mall right now.
The VP, don't we have Secret Service anymore? Man, I think Trump was trying to get J.D. Vance killed. That's what I think is going on. Anytime you see some shit like that, regular shit, something that is cut in stone, all of a sudden change from one day to the next, and it's your vice president, that's like saying vice president is now he's taking a new car, or vice president is now... He's now going to start taking hikes and, you know, going to start, what is he going to do? He's going to start, you know, flying on a new jet, you know, a new jet nobody else has used in 50 years.
That's Somali American Mall, and there's a bunch
of his ass off with a bunch of amateurs and shit. What kind of bullshit is that?
Of shops, and a bunch of people have told me that it would normally be incredibly busy here, that all the shop stalls would be open. Yeah. A lot of them are closed. And that's because this intimidation is basically keeping people who are lawful citizens or even U.S. citizens in their house for fear of what? Well, I mean, what do people tell you about why they're not leaving?
You know, let me hear this one part and then we can move on.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember that the communities that he has chosen to target here, whether it is Somalis who survived war, whether it is Hmong who survived war, whether it is Burmese who survived war and execution, whether it is Ethiopians, Eritreans who survived war. The community here, or Latino Americans, the immigrant community in Minnesota are people who have fled terror, who have fled oppressive regimes. Right. These are people who have been subjected to so much. You know, I was having a conversation just with someone who came from Nicaragua 40 years ago. And he said, you know, he and his family, even though they've been a citizen of this country, feel scared to go outside the door. And I said to him, you know, let's connect as people who, you know, because he was like, I grew up under a dictatorship. And I said, let's connect on that, because what do dictatorships produce? They produce fear.
Right.
They produce intimidation, and they produce for people to eventually self-isolate because they do not want to be disappeared, they do not want to be manhandled, and they do not want to be jailed. And so this is a community that is reacting to that trauma.
Right.
So even though they are citizens,
decades and generations,
right? Even though they're citizens,
right.
even though their children are born in the U.S., their children are born to those stories and to that trauma, and so they're telling themselves and their children, like, I don't want to get pulled over, right? I don't.
Yeah, anytime you have to go outside and be confronted by so many people with guns, sooner or later something bad's gonna happen. It's just that simple, you know. And yeah, don't worry about that Titan Bruce. People are, you know, these are trolls. You know, somebody, some I don't know, some pack, they put some ad agencies on me or something, some troll farms on me or something. Somebody paying for troll farms to fucking, like, you know, to go out there. Any left wing media, if you get above 5,000 views, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna start per video. You're gonna start finding out, and if they categorize you as left leaning, you know, you're gonna find out when you do this kind of stuff. They send these troll farms out, you know, and it's that simple, you know. So, but let's go on now. This is the FBI. You know, big up to Ilhan though. I really love her. I love how she handled this. She's a real trooper, and I'm gonna tell you, she's stronger than a lot of people. You know, the people that bitch and moan about her, oh, she's way stronger than them. Better ethics, stronger work ethic also, right? Solid, you know, efficient, you know, there every day, early, late, knows what she's talking about. She is active, right? And you know, it's just you can't fake it when you're that active, you know. So big up to her, you know. And she's a good representative for not just Americans and Minnesotans, but also a good representative of the Somali diaspora. Like, she kicking ass. Whoever her mentors were, I'm sure she had a lot of mentors in the Democratic Party, and also, but mentors of her family background or whatever, they did a good job with her, you know.
Right.
How can you subject yourself to that? And so they are reflexively going back to that period of time, because that's what this looks like to them.
Final question for you, and I know that you have to go. You were calling for Kristi Noem to resign when you were assaulted last night. Do you think Kristi Noem should resign? Do you think Stephen Miller should be out of a job? What do you want to see happen?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Kristi Noem should resign. If not, as Leader Hakeem Jeffries stated, we will initiate impeachment. Nobody should ever have hired Stephen Miller, who basically is a copycat of the Nazis, and that's kind of the cruelty that he wants to inflict on.
Facts. Yeah. Okay. But let's just go over this real quick. Right now in the House of Representatives, right, there is 435 seats. 220 are Republican, 213 are Democrat, and 2 are vacant, right? And the power balance. So the power balance in the Senate, right, is slight Democratic control, and that's the difference. In the House, it's a little more, right? You see, there's more representation for Republicans in the House, right? The Senate, so Republicans got 49 Senate seats. Democrats have 47. Independents who caucus with Democrats have 4. So that gives Democrats an edge in the Senate. So, and that's for people that don't really understand what's going on there. So even though a bill gets written or passed in the House, it doesn't mean that it makes it past the Senate and to the president's desk to be signed and turned into law, right? So, yeah. So the Democrats have a better chance right now at stopping bills in the Senate. But if you go back to, for example, let's say the House, right, where those seats are, where the Republicans have more of a lead, right, you will see that Republicans have 220 members, right, and the Democrats have 213. You will see to get anything passed in the House, they need Democrat votes still, right? Republicans still, when it comes to this 2/3 margin, margin, to get a certain amount of votes to actually pass it, it can't just be like half. It needs to be slightly above it. And they have different rules for each type of voting, you see? So it's not the exact same number lead that they need for every type of bill. But in any case, let's move on. This is about Kash Patel now. Kash Patel executes search warrant. I mean, this is crazy. This is about the elections. I mean, this is what you got. So why fund the government?
Got some breaking news for you. An agency.
Why fund the federal government? Why fund the FBI? Why fund them? As a matter of fact, do they even work if they don't get funded? Let's find out.
Spokesperson tells the Associated Press that the FBI has executed a search warrant today at the Fulton County Elections Office near Atlanta. MS Now's Lisa Rubin is following this for us. A couple things we should say that most of our viewers know. This has been a focus of Donald Trump since he lost the 2020 election, right? What happened there? We know he famously called the Secretary of State there asking him to find votes. And we also know that last week he said people will soon be prosecuted for what they did. We don't know what he was referring to, but do we know anything about what's going on here?
Well, Chris, we can tell you that last week, in fact, last Friday, a federal district court judge in Macon, Georgia, dismissed a lawsuit by the Department of Justice to obtain voter rolls from the state of Georgia, in particular from Fulton County's Board of Elections. That was dismissed because the judge said it was brought in the wrong place. Now, several days later, we are hearing news from the Associated Press and other outlets that a search warrant has been served on a Fulton County operations center in Union City, Georgia. We have not independently confirmed.
So they've gone from civil to criminal.
The existence or service of that search warrant. However, to the extent that a federal judge has already said to the Department of Justice, if you want to pursue this suit civilly, there is a place for you to do so. And they have instead escalated by starting a criminal investigation and getting a search warrant in service of that investigation. That certainly would be a ratcheting up of the sort of retribution that Donald Trump has long promised with respect to the 2020 election and other events and people who he says have wronged him.
FBI Atlanta field office statement. Good. To MS Now. FBI Atlanta is executing a court-authorized law enforcement action at 5600 Campbellton Fairburn Road. Our investigation into this matter is ongoing, so there are no details that we can provide at the moment.
That address that you just provided, that is in fact the address of the Fulton County Elections Hub and Operations Center in Union City that we understood to be the place where that search warrant was served and executed earlier today. We do not know what the subject matter is of an investigation.
So basically this is about, this is another distraction, so you know what they say, when you're in a, what is this? When you're in a toxic situation, a whirlpool gets created because of that energy, right? And the dynamic that's going on, it just has everything sinking down, 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 down. And it's doing that almost with its own gravity. It's created its own gravity pull, you see, what Trump is doing. And it's only going to speed up. Why is it going to speed up? Because Trump is in trouble. As long as he's active attacking things, it buys him more time, So the more desperate Trump gets, the more he starts lashing out like this. And this is an example. Everyone knows this is not going to go anywhere. The election was not stolen. It's just that simple. The only person that committed fraud is him by calling people and asking them to find more votes. It's crazy. And now look, now he's trying to investigate other people, for things that just
investigation. But I just want to
people for just doing their job, not because he's pissed off that they won't say the election was stolen. It's crazy.
In fact, the address of the Fulton County Elections Hub and Operations Center in Union City that we understood to be the place where that search warrant was served and executed earlier today. We do not know what the subject matter is of an investigation, but I just want to remind people, and I know this sounds very elementary, you don't get a
circle of dysfunction. Yeah, it's a negative spiral. It's a negative spiral. And a smart person will stay out on the outer rim. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that if you feed into it, you will go down with this thing. So Trump, he's creating this on its own. It's just going to go down. He's doing it to himself. It's himself. All you have to do is step away from it. Everybody that's close in proximity to him is going to get sucked in this downward spiral. See, that's the key thing to know, right? That's the key thing to know by proximity, you see. And in this case, it's because people are working for him. They have to go out and do deeds for him. They're exposing themselves to the public and, by capping for Donald Trump. So it's all a downward spiral. The key is, when is it going to totally collapse in on him? Because you don't want it to get too big because it's going to drag everybody down.
search warrant if all you're doing is some sort of civil.
This is a desperate move. This is just crazy, crazy, crazy.
Investigation. A search warrant is obtained only in aid of a criminal investigation, and in particular, after you have shown that there is reason to believe that a crime has been committed, and the Department of Justice and the FBI have to detail for.
Bud Russell, U7S. Bud Russell, what state do you live in and who is your health care provider? Please tell the chat. Let us know if you're a real person. Please, state and healthcare provider. Thank you.
The judge who's signing that search warrant, what it is that has transpired, usually in the form of an affidavit. So we will have to wait to see.
What kind of judge would make that decision? Who would
they? A federal judge.
Jesse Douglas, let us know what state you live in and who your healthcare provider is. Let the chat know so the chat can know you're a real person. Thank you.
Judge. In all likelihood, they have gone to a.
Thank you, 45 Roni.
Federal judge in the Northern District of Georgia, and they have made an application for this search warrant. It would be signed by someone from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Georgia and would likely have an affidavit signed by someone with the FBI, which is why the FBI's Atlanta office is confirming the execution of that warrant today, Chris.
I'm just going to announce to the chat that Bud Russell does not want to provide that information, so he's going to get put in timeout till tomorrow. See you later, Bud. Now we have one other that's here. Jesse Douglas, can you let us know what state you live in and who your healthcare provider is? That way we can kind of know if you're a real person. Thank you.
Chris.
I want to bring in Greg Bluestein. He is the chief political reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He is also an MS Now political contributor. Greg, I understand. Are you on the scene now? What can you tell us?
I'm on the scene.
Oh, Jesse says she's in Canada. Well, then at least you got some health insurance. You know, you should be cautious, Jesse. You know what I mean? Like, you should be cautious here because, I mean, do you really want Canada turning out like by the U.S.? Trump has been shitting on your country. You shouldn't even be doing anything to take his side. Oh, wait a second. Am I saying the right thing? Yes, you said Trump 2028. You are out of your goddamn mind. You actually going to bring terror to Canada, confusion? You going to bring pedophilia, Epstein, and all that shit to your country? Come on now, you capping. You ain't from Canada. You ain't from Canada.
It's a big blocky building in South Fulton County, which is the epicenter of Donald Trump's false claims that he won the 2020 Georgia election. He's been almost single-minded about pursuing, his allegation that he won that election, which of course is false. We don't know what types of documents were involved in this search. We do know, as was mentioned, that there was a court-sanctioned activity is what the FBI is calling it. So I'm looking right now at several people with FBI jackets on and suits who are associated with those with the FBI activity who are standing outside, including talking to a law enforcement official. There's a lot of activity here. There's a helicopter buzzing overhead. I think it's a media helicopter. But Donald Trump has talked a lot. The president has talked a lot about his 2020 election grievances still.
Jesse trying to commit suicide and shit. I'm not for that, Jesse. I can't let you do it.
Even now that he's president.
Let me just clarify. You're seeing people going in. Are you seeing any people going out? Tell us how much activity is actually going on there.
Yeah, we haven't seen anyone going out in the 5 or so minutes since I've been here. I've just seen there's 3 or 4 people standing outside.
This is the FBI is raiding a voting place, a place that, what is it, a voting, what do you call that, board of elections or something in one of these states. This is outrageous. So listen, you know what this sounds like to me? It sounds like they're trying to get voter registration information. That's what it sounds like to me. Am I right, y'all? Let me know. Am I missing something here? Let me just find out if that's what they can actually do. Let me see. The FBI raided a place, right? Let me just double check that. All right, let's play some more here.
And there's a spokeswoman for the FBI standing outside as well, saying this is court-sanctioned activity, that she can't decline. She declined further comment pending whatever details will come out of Washington. So there's a lot of speculation going on, of course, especially given the president's.
All right, so look, what it says here is the FBI did legally, they say legally, enter a voting site. Can they get voter registration data? Yes, but only under strict legal conditions. So in other words, they're going to get the data, just like what happened with Elon Musk. Once you get your hands on the data, who knows what's going to happen to it, And then, right, because Elon Musk already accidentally gave voting data. So you see, so this is another reason why not to fund the government, because this is really it's ridiculous. I mean, it's getting sad, and so many violations. Again, why should you fund the violations? Why should you pay people that are doing this? I mean, of course, they're not going to tell you that they're taking the data, voter data information, but come on, Trump has been concerned. The Republicans are definitely concerned about the 2026 elections, So they're looking into any possibility to hinder people, stop people from voting. Yeah, and that could be anything from harassing people on the street during the election time, but using ICE, to fucking over the voter registration information, or getting their information and finding ways to fool them through the mail or do something else, get them to not show up somehow, confuse them. But it says the FBI cannot take voter records because they show up. So you can't just take it because you show up. It has to be a court order or warrant. Federal judge approval, but they got federal judge approval. Specific scope of what data and records. Okay, that's going to be interesting to know. Let me see. Let me let a little more of this play. I'm gonna bring this back and then check out some more information here. Sorry about that. Let me just bring this back.
So we've got some breaking news for you. An agency spokesperson tells the Associated Press that the FBI has executed a search warrant today at the Fulton County Elections Office near Atlanta. MS Now's Lisa Rubin is following this for us. A couple things we should say that most of our viewers know. This has been a focus of Donald Trump since he lost the 2020 election, right? What happened there? We know he famously called the Secretary of State there asking him to find votes. And we also know that last week he said people will soon be prosecuted for what they did. We don't know what he was referring to.
Right. So under the guise of a crime, he's going to get access to voter registration information.
But do we know anything about what's going on?
This is the same thing that they asked for in Minnesota. We'll go away. Isn't this what Pam Bondi said or suggested? We will go away if you give us this, this, and this. And one of the things was voter registration information. So you could see they're now homing in on the 2026 elections, and yeah, is it legal? Should the next Democratic president do that? Should Democrats do this? Should they just invade all the voter registration, voter places and get that information? Is that what the next any Democrat should do when they become president? I mean, is that what the next, because Kash Patel's not going to be there long because he doesn't have that much experience anyway. Pam Bondi's not going to be here forever. Is this what an FBI officer should do for a president, right?
On here.
Well, Chris, we can tell you that last week, in fact, last Friday, a federal district court judge in Macon, Georgia, dismissed a lawsuit by the Department of Justice to obtain voter rolls from the state of Georgia, in particular from Fulton County's Board of Elections. That was dismissed because the judge said it was brought in the wrong place. Now, several days later, we are hearing news from the Associated Press and other outlets that a search warrant has been served on a Fulton County operations center in Union City, Georgia. We have not independently confirmed the existence or service of that search warrant. However, to the extent that a federal judge has already said to the Department of Justice, if you want to pursue this suit civilly, there is a place for you to do so. And they have.
Right. So here we go. Now we're going to play this little game because the chat has been open, but we know that there's a lot of trolls and things like that, AI trolls and stuff. But what I want you to do right now to show you're not an AI troll is to go up, hit the subscriber button, right? Because I'm going to put the chat in subscriber mode. That means it's free. It's still for free, right? But it just means, so we know that you're not just trolling, because a lot of the comments in there, these are people that they don't want to qualify anything about themselves, like what state do you live in, who's your healthcare provider. People have a lot of interesting comments, but I'm going to put it in subscriber mode, and then it's going to take you a minute to get in if you don't subscribe right now, but it will keep the AI bots out because, but in any case, so you ready? You guys ready? 1, 2, 3, subscriber mode. Boom. And now let's continue.
Have instead escalated by starting a criminal investigation and getting a search warrant in service of that investigation. That certainly would be a ratcheting up of the sort of retribution that Donald Trump has long promised with respect to the 2020 election and other events and people who he says have wronged him.
FBI Atlanta field office statement.
Up in here. The Matrix trying to run the chat and shit. It's like, what the fuck?
MS Now. FBI Atlanta is executing a court-authorized law enforcement action at 5600 Campbellton Fairburn Road. Our investigation into this matter is ongoing, so there are no details that we can provide at the moment.
So, yeah, that's interesting. So this was in Atlanta, right? Fulton County. So let me see here. I want to know what the warrant gets the FBI. That's what I want to know. Let's see here. Answer. Separate confirmed. Fulton County warrant allows the FBI to take. A search warrant does not give unlimited access. It only allows seizure of items specifically listed based on the credible reporting, right? Physical election materials, 2020 election ballots, right? Ballot original or stored. That's about the ballots. Ballot images, right? Chain of custody documents, ballot handling logs, storage and security records. They are used to verify whether ballots were altered, mishandled, or illegally accessed. Okay. 2, digital election system data. Okay. Voting machine data, tabulator logs, election management system files, USB drives and backup servers, audit logs, access logs, who logged into the systems and when, right? This helps investigators see if systems were tampered with. 3, documents and communications, internal emails, memos, contracts with voting machine vendors, communications with outside groups, policies and procedures. This helps determine if laws were broken by officials or third parties. 4, voter registration data, voter rolls, names, addresses, date of birth, registration status, change to voter records. Wow. Here it is, y'all. Change to voter records. Changes to voter records. Okay. Logs of edits to voter databases. So here we go. Let me just make this a little smaller, the text, so everybody can see it. So it can be viewed a little easier. Now, y'all can see this, right? If I do it like this? No. Here we go. Y'all can see this? Okay. Voter registration information. You can see that. So, do you agree with this? Let me know if you agree with this. If you think you want your people to have their voter registration data collected in Fulton County, Atlanta, put a 1 in the chat. If you totally disagree with this, put a 2 in the chat. I'm just talking about this one part. This one part. Voter registration data. This is what the fourth type of thing they can retrieve in this search warrant. The warrant can include voter rolls, names, and addresses. Do you think the federal government should have your voter roll, name, and your address, your date of birth, registration status? That's what party you registered to. Are you okay with that? Put a 1 in the chat. And if you're totally against it, put a 2 in the chat. Okay. This way, everybody else can kind of qualify your other statements too. You know, that's why I like to ask about the health care and things like that, because it's just general, but it helps people gauge your other comments. Right. And this is one of them. You see, I'm just really curious about that. You know, who's in favor of the federal government getting your voter registration information? You know, and again, I don't see why this would be a Republican Democrat issue. I would think all Americans would find this heavily suspicious. But in this case, we could see one person put a 1. I don't know why that is, but one person put a 1, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. Did they change it or something? Titan wrote yes. What do you mean yes? You mean totally against it? Oh, totally against it. Okay, I got you. I got confused. Yeah. So everybody's totally against this. Norm, are you against this or are you for it? Put a 1 in the chat if you're for it. If you're against it, put a 2 in the chat. Yeah, subscriber mode. Exactly, Curly. I mean, you know, exactly. They can't hit the subscribe button. That's the magic trick, you know. Trolls gotta, you know. It's crazy though. It's like that every day though. Let me see. I don't get what they want. What do they want? What is it? Why are they getting all of this? This is a big list of things that they're getting. It's not just like they're getting one thing. They're getting, look at this. What? It's like they're getting access to the whole damn thing. Everything. Computers, computer logs, phone. It's like voter registration information. It's like, what? A search warrant does not give unlimited access. It only allows seizures of items specifically listed by a judge. Based on the credible reporting, the warrant targeted 1. Physical election materials, 2020 election ballot original. I mean, this motherfucker's talking about the 2020 election. What is he talking about? I mean, he wouldn't be president today if he had won that election. What the hell? He got a bigger tax cut than he. This is so stupid. Physical election material, chain of custody documents. I mean, 2, digital election system data. 3, documents and communications. 4, voter registration data. I mean, you know, but only within scope of the investigation, not for political targeting, not for unlimited access. But how do we ensure that? Voter rolls are actually semi-public in the U.S., but the FBI can only use them for law enforcement purposes. What a warrant does not allow. Even with the warrant, the FBI cannot collect data on voters for political purposes. You really trust this government to do anything, to never do something political? Everything they do is for political purposes. Target people based on party or race. This is exactly what they're doing. What the hell is it? What is this? We need to know who the judge is, and don't ever vote for this judge. In fact, impeach this judge. Seize ballots without justification. Of course they're going to seize ballots without justification. Interfere with current voting. Man, they might go in there and try to blame every voter and give them a charge and then say, you know what, you won't be able to vote until your court case is over. Interfere with current voting. Take unrelated data. Oh, okay. Interfere with current voting. Okay, well, that's out of there. Thank God that's there, but, you know, maybe they'll challenge that. Share voter data with politicians. Oh, you know they're going to do that. What the hell? What the hell? The most important point, evidence related to possible crimes. I mean, why is this controversial? The rare because federal agents almost never search election offices. Did you know that? Why it's controversial? Because federal agents almost never search election offices. Trump don't give a fuck about that. Kash Patel don't give a fuck about that. Pam Bondi doesn't give a fuck about that. Does MAGA care about that? I mean, it's setting precedent. Yeah. And once you allow something like this, once the Supreme Court allows this, this will be allowed for everyone else, for any president after that. You know, so why is the government being funded? Why is the government being funded? At what point do people's rights exist? You know, in today's society, U.S. society, I mean, yeah, because when you set precedent and when you allow something like this, this is set. If this is not stopped by an injunction or a federal court or the Supreme Court, then it becomes precedent. You know, and of course, this must be. Hey, Dawn, how you doing? Yeah, this must be something that is going to be taken up in court. Now, let me just let a little bit of this play again. I'm going to dig something else up about this real quick.
No, but that address that you just provided, that is in fact the address of the Fulton County Elections Hub and Operations Center in Union City that we understood to be the place where that search warrant was served and executed earlier today. We do not know what the subject matter is of an investigation, but I just want to remind people, and I know this sounds very elementary, you don't get a search warrant if all you're doing is some sort of civil investigation. A search warrant is obtained only in aid of a criminal investigation, and in particular, after you have shown that there is reason to believe that a crime has been committed, and the Department of Justice and the FBI have to detail for the judge who's signing that search warrant what it is that has transpired, usually in the form of an affidavit. So we will have to wait to see.
What kind of judge would make that decision? Who would
they? A federal judge.
Federal judge.
In all likelihood, they have gone to a federal judge.
Now, guess who the judge is? The judge is, who does it say here? Let me take my camera off so y'all can see this also. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, the judge. Here we go. Magistrate Judge Catherine M. Salinas. Okay. Right. And this has been reported in court records and multiple sources describing the warrant authorizing and the FBI to seize ballot election records and voter rolls from 2020 election. What it means is that magistrate judge signed it. The magistrate judge is the judge who can legally approve such warrants if federal investigators show probable cause. So what was the probable cause? The FBI had to present evidence to her. She had to agree there was legal basis to search the election office. The warrant was limited to specific materials on the list, but that list is goddamn huge. It does not mean she approved political action, but you know, come on, everything that this party does, that Trump does, is political action. What the hell? Everybody knows that's bullshit. So, lady, you're going to be remembered forever in the history of the United States, basically for treason, because you know damn well that this government is not trusted. that Trump is not trusted. You know, Magistrate Judge Carolyn M. Salinas. Let me just dig that out right here. Let me see who appointed her also, just for the record. Let me do this one. All right, let's hear a little more.
Judge in the Northern District of Georgia, and they have made an application for this search warrant. It would be signed by someone from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Georgia and would likely have an affidavit signed by someone with the FBI, which is why the FBI's Atlanta office is confirming the execution of that warrant today, Chris.
I want to bring in Greg.
All right, so let me see. It says, who appointed her? But what? It doesn't say. Okay, and served for 8 years. Oh, okay. So they can only be reappointed by the district judges. No Senate confirmation, unlike district or appellate judges. The president does not nominate them. They are entirely vetted and approved by other federal judges in the district. Okay, so that's what that's about. All right.
Bluestein, he is the chief political reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He is also an MS Now political contributor. Greg, I understand. Are you on the scene now? What can you tell us?
I'm on the scene at that office. It's a big blocky building in South Fulton County, which is the epicenter of Donald Trump's claims, false claims that he won the 2020 Georgia election. He's been almost single-minded about pursuing, his allegation that he won that election, which of course is false. We don't know what types of documents were involved in this search. We do know, as was mentioned, that there was a court-sanctioned activity, is what the FBI is calling it. So I'm looking right now at several people with FBI jackets on and suits who are associated with those with the FBI activity, who are standing outside, including talking to a law enforcement official. There's a lot of activity here. There's a helicopter buzzing overhead. I think it's a media helicopter. But Donald Trump has talked a lot. The president has talked a lot about his 2020 election grievances still, even now that he's president.
Let me just clarify.
Yeah, so let me I see some new people in the chat. Let me know something. If you agree with them getting voter registration information, your name, your date of birth, because this is stuff that they're getting. They're getting a whole lot of stuff, but they're also getting your personal information, what party you belong to, who you voted for, obviously, your name, your date of birth, your address, this kind of stuff. If you're okay with that, put a 1 in the chat. If you're totally against that, put a 2 in the chat. I just want to see, because I can see we got some new folks in the chat. Hey Don, I see you. Good morning to you. Yeah. To me, I'm totally against this. I just think it's just another vibe. You can see where this is going. Yeah. Trump is terribly unpopular in the country, and usually that changes election outcomes. And they can smell that coming because they've been losing seats left and right, even just in these special elections, And Trump is going to get impeached. He even said this shit like, if we lose the 2026 elections, I'll get impeached. I mean, he's even said that. So, hey, Sherry, how you doing? Let me know, Sherry, if you agree with the FBI searching the Fulton County in Atlanta election offices and getting your personal information like name, address, date of birth, who you voted for, what party you belong to. Let us know. If you agree with that, put a 1 in the chat. If you're against it, put a 2 in the chat. Sounds like he's violating every oath to me. I mean, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, really, it's sad. If things weren't already pathetic, this would be like something you would normally react to, but shit is all bonkers. Everything is bonkers. This is almost not even a surprise that he would do this. You know what I mean? But the fact that he does it, I don't understand. Now listen, this leads me to my next question. Marjorie Greene Taylor said this about these times. Let's take a listen.
Go back to the president's comments there. There's so much to go through there. The Second Amendment questions, which makes the NRA's head explode, and they've said as much. The idea that Alex Preddy could not be at that protest with a gun, that he was legally licensed to own and carry in the state of Minnesota flies in the face of everything conservatives and Republicans have stood for and said for generations. When you had armed protesters in state capitals during COVID and around the 2020 election with AR-15s inside the Capitol buildings, Kyle Rittenhouse has become a figure in the conservative movement, a heroic figure to some for what he did with a gun at a protest. So Donald Trump and also people in DHS, they are really losing the Second Amendment argument when they make these points. There's the megalomania, I guess you could put it, on display when the president talks about the shooting death of Renee Good only in the context of her parents being Trump supporters. He makes that point time and time again. And then just to bring it back to Alex Preddy, saying we do all these good things and then, quote, you get one person a little bit wrong. The execution effectively in the streets of Minnesota on video is one person a little bit wrong.
Yep. Do me a favor. Click the like button if you haven't clicked the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Then if you subscribe, you can get in the chat too. The chat is open to subscribers.
He's also wrong about what he claims thousands of thugs and murderers and criminals that are being deported. DHS's own data says that's not true, that they're not getting the worst of the worst. By the way, former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia issued this very warning to the MAGA base about the events playing out in Minnesota and across the country. In a post on social media, the Georgia Republican asked how the president's supporters would feel if officers during Joe Biden's presidency threw a MAGA guy to the ground, disarmed him, and then shot him dead. She writes in part, legally carrying a firearm is not the same as brandishing a firearm, adding, quote, you are all being incited into civil war, yet none of it solves any of the real problems that we all face, and tragically, people are dying. That is from Marjorie Taylor Greene, longtime supporter until just lately of President Trump and one of the leaders of the MAGA movement. Mike Barnacle, a lot to digest there. I'm just wondering what you're thinking and feeling as you hear some of the commentary this morning.
Do you all agree with Marjorie Greene Taylor? I agree with her. You know, I won't ever forget the fact that she's one of the reasons why Trump is the president. You know what I'm saying? People like her, sadly enough. But you're allowed to be fooled. You're allowed to make mistakes. If that was a learning experience for her, fine. I ain't got no issue with that. Because that's how politics work, man. Some people have an eye opener after doing some really foul shit. You know, after voting for some really ridiculous, harmful shit, sometimes they wake up. That's politics for you. I wasn't always so bright with politics. I mean, that became something later in life. It takes time. But then again, I also, how can I say this? At least I had basic understanding, the basics of it down, you know. But you vote for Trump, man. You really saying a lot about yourself these days, because this man, why would you vote for a man whose reputation is the one of Jeffrey Epstein's best friend? Why would you do that? What sense does that make? Could I tell you that I was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend for 15 years and get a vote from you? Would you vote for me if I told you that? That is crazy. I don't care who the person is. I would never fucking vote for you. You Jeffrey Epstein's best friend? I don't give a damn. What the hell? I'm quite sure people didn't know Clinton was hanging out with Epstein when they voted for him, right? Did you know that? But people knew Trump was hanging out with Epstein. They knew he was hanging, especially the second time. Especially the second time. By the time the second time came around, they totally knew it. And they still capped for his ass. It's like, what the hell? Like, what's going on here? You don't owe people your vote. You don't owe people. You have every right to vote for a virgin. You have every right to vote for somebody that, you know, is, I'm not saying that that's special that you have to be, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you have every right to vote for a person who's never done anything wrong in their entire life. A saint. You have every right to do that. Why would you vote for Donald Trump? Yo, there's plenty of saints out there, man. When you compare them to Donald Trump, there's plenty of saints. Instead, they were like, nope, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump no matter what. You know, just because these liberals don't want him to be in office, I'm going to vote for him. And this man is gone bonkers. He's gone bonkers. He is going to, listen, I said this some time ago. They voted for red state suicide. That's what they voted for. And even though a lot of this shit is hurting Democrats, liberals, and hurting them, let me tell you who it's going to totally decimate. See, to beat liberals down, you can't just, hurt the economy a little bit, because their economy is better than the Republican states. So that won't work, obviously, right? So you need to also beat them down with ICE and something. But listen, the economy itself is going to decimate the red states. They don't even need to get hit over the head with a stick. The economy, these people won't have a home after a year. They have no plan. No plan.
You hear the president talking about this and the fact that
Elon Musk and Trump is going to own their granddaddy's home and their mama's home.
DHS says we'll handle the investigation again here.
I'm having a jumble of thoughts. I've been having a jumble of thoughts for the past 4 or 5 days. And it's odd, I think, that some of us feel nostalgic about a country called America that we grew up in, that our parents gave to us. We just saw the President of the United States speaking yesterday from Iowa about how one of the victims' families was a Trump fan, as you just pointed out. The country doesn't belong to Donald Trump. It belongs to us. It belongs to everyone in America. It belongs to my children and my grandchildren. And I'm fearful for them because of what's happened over the weekend. And I've been thinking probably too much about it, but I harken back to 1968 when you could feel the nuts and bolts of this country popping loose. First, Martin Luther King gets killed in Memphis, and then Robert F. Kennedy gets killed in Los Angeles. During the month of May in 1968, the year of the Tet Offensive in Vietnam.
Listen. Hold on now. Jay Bird, you got to stop spreading lies, bro, man. Like, really. Jay Bird said, just so everybody can hear that, I saw a sick video of Hillary Clinton on an island of the chow hall where the kids were eating. They had to sit on 5-gallon buckets while eating because they couldn't hold their bowel movements. Man, that's part of the Pizzagate. That's the Pizzagate. Listen. According to, hold on. Let me see something here. Here we go. I just want to make sure. Here we go. So, fact check reporting. Epstein documents don't prove Clinton visited an island. Fact check clarifies the court filings and Instagram claims about Hillary Clinton being on Jeffrey Epstein's private island are not supported by evidence. It shows she was named as a possible witness, not accusing of a visit on the island. Factcheck.org explains related conspiracy theories. Overview states now. Here's what factcheck.org says, right? They say that conspiracy comes from Pizzagate, right? The baseless conspiracy, Pizzagate and QAnon related theories. The claims suggest that Hillary Clinton and others were eating on an island while children were supposedly forced to eat in horrible conditions. Some versions mix in Epstein related locations or the Caribbean island, but there's no credible evidence that ever happened. Fact check. No verified reports, no mainstream news outlet, court cases, or government report has corroborated such a story. It is entirely propagated social media, fringe forums, and conspiracy site. Pizzagate and Epstein myth. Pizzagate falsely claimed Clinton ran a child trafficking ring outside of a pizza restaurant. Exactly. And now everybody's eating minestrone. So, let's clean that up. Sorry, buddy, but you got to clean that up, man. You get a chance, but just clean that up, man, please, because, when you make things like that, at least give a source, right? Give people the source so I don't have to give it. I just gave the source. It's Pizzagate and QAnon, y'all. That's the source, and I guess you want to tell us where the site you can go to see the video, Jay Bird? In any case, listen, Jay Bird, what state do you live in and who's your health care provider?
77 American boys were being killed every day. 77 a day for an entire month.
Notice how Jay Bird brings that up when we talking about something right in his face every day, if you're an American.
Of May.
We talking about Civil War, and this guy's talking about, man, Pizzagate, y'all, QAnon. Listen, here's somebody who used to believe in Pizzagate, okay? She used to believe in QAnon. She got something to tell you, Jay Bird. Please take a listen this time.
The MAGA base about the events playing out in Minnesota and across the country. In a post on social media, the Georgia Republican.
This is Marjorie Green Taylor, QAnon, Pizzagate conspiracy theorist. She got something to say to Jay Bird.
Taylor Greene of Georgia issued this very warning to the MAGA base about the events playing out in Minnesota and across the country. In a post on social media, the Georgia Republican asked how the president's supporters would feel if officers during Joe Biden's presidency threw a MAGA guy to the ground, disarmed him, and then shot him dead. She writes in part, legally carrying a firearm is not the same as brandishing a firearm, adding, quote, you are all being incited into civil war, yet none of it solves any of the real problems that we all face, and tragically, people are dying. That is...
She talking to you, Jay Bird. We are all being sent into a tragic civil war, okay? Yeah, that's who she's talking to, people like you, man, because I already know that the Russians are trying to drag the U.S. into a war. That's what they're using, the algorithm. That's what Elon Musk's goal is. That's what their goal has been the whole time. That's what they're doing. They want to divide people. So they're going to attack liberals so they can feed the Republican base so that now you can come out and say, yeah, I agree with killing innocent American citizens. I agree with stealing voter registration data, so they can get you to go along with it, get you nice and dirty, get your hands dirty, and then they're going to flip it on you then. That's exactly what their plan is. You see what I mean? That's how people have done this forever, for ages. We talking about 1,000 years now. This is, what do you call this? This is Machiavellian. You see what I mean? So, J Bird, whatever your name is, man, Marjorie Green Taylor.
Very warning to the MAGA base about the events playing out in Minnesota and across the country.
Now, well, you better get off that QAnon shit, because that Pizzagate shit, because that's what it's designed to do. Okay?
Issued this very warning to the MAGA base about the events playing out in Minnesota and across the country. In a post on social media, the Georgia Republican asked how the president's supporters would feel if officers during Joe Biden's presidency threw a MAGA guy to the ground, disarmed him, and then shot him dead.
And see, what the Trump supporter would say is, Joe Biden already did that. They already did that under Obama. That's exactly what they would say.
She writes in part, legally carrying a firearm is not the same as brandishing a firearm, adding, quote, you are all being incited into civil war, yet none of it solves any of the real problems that we all face.
You hear that? Hillary Clinton talking about her on an island eating, some photograph you saw or video you say you saw, Jay Bird. Okay. That's interesting, because, the only person to go to jail for any of this stuff has been a woman. That's Ghislaine Maxwell. Nobody else has had to do prison time. I mean, everyone else has kept a secret. Did you hear about the 29 new people that are mentioned by Ghislaine Maxwell? Right? Did you hear about that? Let me see something here. Yeah, she's exposing more co-conspirators. Hillary Clinton, I don't think, maybe she's on the list. Let's see here.
And tragically, people are dying. That is from Marjorie Taylor Greene, longtime supporter until just lately of President Trump and one of the leaders of the MAGA movement. Mike Barnicle, a lot to digest there. I'm just wondering what you're thinking and feeling as you hear some of the commentary this morning. You hear the president talking about this and the fact that DHS says we'll handle the investigation again here.
I'm having a jumble of thoughts. I've been having a jumble of thoughts for the past 4 or 5 days. And it's odd, I think, that some of us feel nostalgic about a country called America that we grew up in.
Yeah, well, in any case, in case you don't know, folks, there has been this new development with Ghislaine Maxwell, right? So let's see here. This is crazy.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So this is the same guy that is the head of the FBI that did the raid on the Fulton County Elections Office. Do you trust him? Put a 1 in the chat if you trust Kash Patel. Put a 2 in the chat if you do not trust Kash Patel. This is the same guy that just in the last 24 hours sent an FBI raid in with a judge's warrant to seize voter registration information. Put a 2 in the chat if you totally against this. Also, Jay Bird, you too. Put a 1 if you with that. If you like Kash Patel. Put a 2 if you don't. Put a 1 if you are for that. You know, him sending agents into the Fulton County voting office. Yeah. Let me know. Put a 1 in there if you for that. If you think it's wrong and you like fuck Kash Patel, put a 2. You know. Let's see. I mean, come on now. Let's see. Jay Bird, what's up, man? Jay Bird. Communicate, Jay Bird. Cooperate, brother. Cooperate now. Don't be stubborn. Don't be stuck on that Pizzagate, okay? Come on out of the Pizzagate. You know, get involved in this discussion right here, okay? This discussion is about your voting rights. It's about your voting records. It's about your date of birth. It's about your name. It's about your address, okay? Come on, man. Let's bring it back into focus now. Damn, where you at, Jay Bird? What the hell?
The answer is no one.
Anyway, Kash Patel is, you know, this is a hot mess. So Ghislaine Maxwell has 29 new names of co-conspirators she's saying are being covered up by the FBI and the DOJ. Watch. Just a couple of weeks ago, it was the opposite, right? They went and had a meeting with her and was like, no, nobody else there. Nobody else here but us chickens, boss. Nobody else.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Damn, but there's 29 more people that Ghislaine Maxwell just easily threw out there to the public from one day to the next. 29 people that she already knew about. When number 2, Tom Blanche, went to visit her and interview her, that everyone, the whole world heard the Tom Blanche interview and the summary of it. You know what I'm saying? And he came back saying there wasn't any. No more co-conspirators. This is a bullshit. This is some bullshit.
So that was obviously ridiculous on its
Yeah, this is TYT, y'all.
face. Less ridiculous to hear Kash Patel talk that way when you realize that he's not remotely interested in tracking down the actual elites who committed these horrendous acts of pedophilia for literally years.
When we talk about shutting down the government, don't forget who we talking about. We want this department shut down. We don't want them getting our money no more. He will still get a check. He's essential, right? But he's essential paid. But most are non-essential paid. I mean, are non-essential unpaid. Or essential unpaid. Same thing with the military. Essential unpaid, most. Same thing with a lot of different government agencies now. Like, so I'm just like, fuck this. You can't get your health care. We gonna get beat upside the head. We can't get health care. Then fuck it. Let's shut this shit down because they're invading election offices now, taking your personal data. Elon Musk, they already found out that Doge took people's personal data, social security numbers, and gave it away, quote unquote, to people that are going to try to stop the elections. Now it's invading election offices, getting your personal data. I mean, what's up with this?
He's just there to cover it up. He says with all the information we have, but we know they have millions of documents.
Yeah, he makes me go cross-eyed looking at his ass. I'm like, damn, am I getting dizzy or what the fuck's going on with my eyes, yo?
Documents, and he has no interest whatsoever in actually looking at them. And it turns out when you, I don't know, talk to the key players in the story, you can find out a lot more. And we are now finding out a lot more about the accomplices and the other criminals in this case. Ghislaine Maxwell.
Reluctantly, slowly. I mean, doesn't that mean Kash Patel and Todd Blanche are some poor investigators? If they couldn't get this 29 names out of her 2 months ago or 3 months ago when she was asking for her cushy cell, they gave her a cushy cell and she held on to 29 names. I mean, I don't know what's going on here.
Apparently just provided more information.
It's almost like they were like, went in there and was like, look, we're going to give you a cushy cell. And she was like, I know who. And they were like, shh, shut up. We don't want to know. We don't want to know. And just in case you want to know what we want to know, we don't want to know about any co-conspirators. Okay, that's the deal.
Information about them, something maybe Kash Patel could look into. Buried in
whatever you do, don't name any co-conspirators, and you can get that soft, cushy cell.
Habeas petition that Maxwell
now she got the cell, and she's like, I'm going to leak it anyway.
Recently filed in court, hoping to void her conviction. She referenced 4 potential co-conspirators and 20.
Don, I appreciate you.
5 men who allegedly reached secret settlements connected to Epstein's abuse and were never indicted. We don't know who they are. We don't know what acts they committed. We don't know what the settlements were, but there's apparently a whole cinematic universe of co-conspirators out there that Kash Patel apparently didn't even look into and doesn't seem particularly interested in. And this is, by the way, not even the first time that we've seen people get settlements and not be indicted. Billionaire Leon Black, a Trump ally and former Apollo CEO, apparently paid $62.5 million to the U.S. Virgin Islands to settle claims tied to his financial dealings with Epstein. There were no criminal charges, just a very large check and a quiet exit. And let's do the context here. It's a very large check for you, for me, for a billionaire. It is nothing. It's how much his accounts go up and down on a daily basis. And you can avoid all responsibility by just cutting a check. This, by the way, if you're a QAnon person who believes that financial elites are able to be predators on little kids and then they're protected by the system, I don't know a better example of that than this. So you can potentially, I mean, again,
So they got 29 names. 29 names. That's a hell of a lot of names.
Did it ever?
That's way more names. I just wanted to point something out, though. By the way, I've been listening to more of the Sasha Riley tapes, the audio tapes, and there's more similarities coming up. Like, number one, check this out, y'all. You see Trump is always having these parties, right? He's always having these Mar-a-Lago parties. You know what I'm talking about? With strippers and all kinds of funny, maybe not strippers, but next to stripping, right? But there's always these social parties he's always having in Mar-a-Lago. Think about that when you listen to the Sasha Cohen tapes. Think about that when you listen to the, what's the lady's name? Katie Johnson, right? I believe that's her name, to her tapes. Think about that, because they always say that these assaults are taking place at parties. Yes. Just think about that when you think about Epstein. And for those of you that don't know, Sasha is one of the male victims who claimed that Trump and Epstein sex trafficked him between the ages of 8 and 12 years old. And in case you don't know, this is for the people that don't know. He said that what was it? What was the allegation against Trump? He had 4 encounters with Trump. He said Trump was one of the people he was most afraid of. It was 4 people he was most afraid of. He remember their names. Who was it? Y'all help me remember, those of you all. There is one person he wasn't afraid of. He can't remember if he got molested by him or not. What's the Supreme Court Justice? Clarence Thomas, y'all. Clarence Thomas. He says that he believes, he's not sure, but he thinks he was molested by Clarence Thomas, and he clearly remembers seeing Clarence Thomas there regularly at these parties, and that he had to know what was going on at the very least. Then there is also, who else? The guy who's now the chair of the hearings where Jack Smith was just interviewed. What's that guy's name? You know who I'm talking about? Let me see here. Do I need to look this shit up? Y'all don't know? What's up, y'all? Maybe I don't have all my mods in here that know about this stuff. But listen, we went through it. There's several other people. There's 2 other congressional members. There's a Supreme Court justice, but he doesn't know if Clarence Thomas molested him, but he says he was there and he thinks he did, and he was there many times. Maybe he did it with others, but there's 2 other congressional members that assaulted him personally, right? And violently. He said that's why he remembers. And then there's Trump is the 3rd person. And he said that in this situation, he always thought it looked to him that Epstein was the subordinate of Trump, that Epstein worked for Trump and 4 other billionaires at that time. Jim Jordan, thank you very much. Lindsey Graham, exactly. Thank y'all. And there's 1 more, right? So that's 3. That would be 3. Then there's 4. And then there's Clarence Thomas. So yeah. Thank you very much for that, Blue Feather. I appreciate that. And Christina, yeah, exactly. You guys have been listening. And Norm, appreciate that. There you go. Yes. So this is the situation. So we should factor these things in when we think about Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, when we think about Trump, look, let me show you what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of this, let me see here. In terms of these parties. In terms of these parties here, I have the perfect example. I'm going to get out of here about 15 minutes, something like that. But I just want to show you all this so you know exactly what I'm getting at here. Let's see here, right? Boom. Right. Here we go. So I believe if I play this, it will work. Check this out, y'all. Check this out. Now, this is Midas Touch reporting, and then it goes into the Sasha Riley clip. Now check this out.
Trump's Mar-a-Lago club threw a party. Guests were greeted by women in showgirl outfits and sipped champagne by the pool, watching entertainers floating in giant bubbles spread their legs. Midas Touch account said the following: they're having eyes wide shut parties nonstop at Mar-a-Lago.
He was. Now, I can't swear. I may have been assaulted by Clarence Thomas, but I cannot swear to that. If he did assault me, then it was not to the level of something that scared me to the point where I needed to remember it, if that's a good way to put that, which Trump rose to that, and Andy Biggs rose to that, and Jim Jordan rose to that because
Andy Biggs.
He was dangerous to me because I could keep most people away from me with my fists, but he was a good wrestler. So I know the least about him. The only reason that I can remember him is because he was a black man, and I'm sorry, but that club is pretty much just white folks. So having a black person there was very unusual. So he stood out. But the only thing that I can really say is that I remembered him being there, and then I remember what a big deal it was in our household when he...
Look right here, as the Patriot Takes account writes, as the country reeled from the murder of Alex Preti by federal agents in Minneapolis on Saturday, Trump's Mar-a-Lago club threw a party. Guests were greeted by women in showgirl outfits, and
so if you listen to these tapes, you will know that in all actuality, he mentions right before he mentions Clarence Thomas and right before he mentions Trump, or right before and right after, he says also that all these things were happening in parties. Now, if you think about Katie Johnson's thing, she also said it happened at parties. And when you look at this, just tell me, I mean, does this, what do you think when you see this? Because what do you think the parties were like? The parties for Clarence Thomas that he's talking about, these people were going, these are parties for rich and influential people. So keep that in mind.
Right here. As the Patriot Takes account writes, as the country reeled from the murder of Alex Preti by federal agents in Minneapolis on Saturday, Trump's Mar-a-Lago club threw a party. Guests were greeted by women in showgirl outfits and sipped champagne by the pool, watching entertainers floating in giant bubbles spread their legs. Midas Touch account said the following: they're having eyes wide shut parties nonstop at Mar-a-Lago.
So I just wanted to point that out. There's a few other things that kind of correlate, but in any case, let's move on to this now. Let's see what has to say. I've had it podcast. Let's see here.
I think is a shot across the bow to Trump and his allies.
Right. She's talking about Ghislaine Maxwell saying that there's 29 more co-conspirators.
In federal court, Ghislaine Maxwell has filed saying there are 4 unindicted co-conspirators and at least 25 people that were not indicted but paid settlements. Pop this up. Ghislaine Maxwell dropped a bombshell alleging that nearly 30 friends of Jeffrey Epstein reached secret settlements and were never indicted. And why I think that this is super important is, remember the birthday book. There was speculation, and then it was confirmed that the birthday book with Trump saying we're such good friends and we have secrets in the woman caricature, that was alleged to have been from Ghislaine Maxwell to tell Trump, I've got shit on you. And then Todd Blanche ran down there. Now she's been transferred, all of those things. To me, this is a power play from her to say, I want my conviction overturned. That's what she's asking in federal court. Or I want a pardon. What are your thoughts?
You know, I don't follow this stuff as much as you do, the minutia of it. But I have always just known that she has a lot of leverage over him because he uses the phrase, she's a very nice person. I wish her well. And when Elon Musk, before he dropped the bomb about...
Exactly. And think about how transactional Trump is with his language. You know, it could flip-flop at any time. But one thing is for sure is that he speaks transactional language. So that means he's saying it that way because he's depending on her giving him something, and that is peace of mind.
Trump's in the Epstein files before he dropped that on...
She's a wonderful person. That means she must have some shit on Trump.
On Twitter when they first broke up, he said, I wish him well. So
That's
for
sad.
me, when Trump says, I wish him well, I'm sure he's probably said that about Putin before too. It's a tell because he can't, his go-to is just Rip City. Like his go-to is, you know, screw Ghislaine, she sucks, nobody liked her anyway, Jeffrey cheated on her all the time. You know, he can't help himself. So when you hear this malignant narcissist that is an insult thrower say he wishes somebody well who is a convicted sex trafficker.
Yo, Vin, listen, the guy, Sasha Riley, he said that him, in his mind, based on, and this boy was sex trafficked between 8 and 12. That's 4 years. That's 4 years by his dad to Trump and Epstein. He said that Epstein worked for Trump and 4 other billionaires, that the others, Trump and them, were the ones orchestrating all this, that Epstein was just like a manager, you know, just a subordinate. And so that changes the whole thing because that means Trump has a lot of dirt on a lot of other people. He can twist a lot of arms. That also explains why he's able to get away with so much. I mean, Clarence, the Supreme Court has been hand delivering the American people on a platter for feast to Trump. You see what I mean? And not just the Supreme Court, but the Congress. Like, what's up with the Congress? The Congress is inactive. Don't ever forget that while these alleged victims, and I'm only saying alleged just to, you know, just to be technical, right? Everybody knows, everyone believes, at least I believe wholeheartedly, this motherfucker is every bit as fucked up as what they say. All of them put together, and especially Sasha, right? But in any case, this is happening, you know, while they're saying all these things about Trump. Look at the actions that Trump is taking and look at the inaction of Congress. He already said, this guy Sasha said that 2 or 3 other senators senators? Lindsey Graham congressman. Is Lindsey Graham a congressional member or a senator? He said 2 Congress people and then Lindsey Graham, right? So he said 3 of them together, or 3 representatives. Let's say federal representatives now. And then also Trump, and then also he believes that Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court. Now, what if there's another on the Supreme Court? But it doesn't even matter, because it only takes a little bit to tilt the scale in any direction you want to take it in. So keep that in mind, the allegations, when you see the inaction of the U.S. Congress. Just think about that. They have done nothing. They passed one big, beautiful, ugly bill. It has to be funded, but they passed it, right? And signed it into law. But guess what? That's it. They've been totally inactive when it comes to all of this other shit that's going on that Trump's doing, wars, invading Greenland, invading people's land that have health care and education. And he's like, we're going to invade you. You know, this dude's been off the chain. Tariffs have killed the United States dollar. They've killed industry. They decimated American people's lives. There have to be a reason why this dude is allowed to do all of this. It must be he have dirt on a lot of people.
I know that she has so much.
But he ain't even releasing the files. He have dirt on a lot of people, but he's not, theoretically, but he's not even releasing the files. Who owns those files? The American people own the files. It's our files. It's us that pay the taxes to maintain the housing space for the files. They belong to the American people now. They're going against the law and not releasing them.
On him, it's ridiculous.
Okay, so let's get into the article of what she says in this filing. And I think this is not a surprise, but the fact that she's putting it on paper tells me there's all kinds of leverage. You're exactly right. Pop
this is I've Had It podcast, y'all.
This up, Kyle's. Okay. Buried in the habeas corpus petition that Maxwell recently filed in court, blah, blah, the convicted associate, 4 potential co-conspirators, and 25 men who reached secret settlements but were never indicted. And then you find out, what kind of settlements are we talking? You see that Leon Black, who is a Trump ally, former Apollo CEO, paid $62.5 million in U.S. Virgin Islands to settle claims tied to his financial dealings with Epstein. So here's the thing. There's no charges. Was this a quid pro quo with authorities? I don't know. And Leon.
Yes, it was.
Black, who is big buddies with Trump, also testified in 2018 before Congress that he vaguely remembers being in Russia and he could have been in a strip bar with Trump. So this goes back years and years and years. And Leon Black, who is big buddies with Trump, also testified in 2018 before Congress that he vaguely remembers being in Russia and he could have been in a strip bar with Trump. So this goes back years and years and years ago.
That's bananas. Kylie, will you put that up? There was something underlined that I wanted to see. It said, gave evidence about being with Trump during a trip with Russia. This is what you just said, in the naughty 90s, where they attend a concert, a discotheque. And according to Black's sworn testimony, might have been in a strip club together. Black paid Epstein roughly $170 million nominally for tax and estate planning, but denied knowledge anything about his industrial scale sex trafficking. That's crazy. So is this maybe, and I'm just pontificating here or guessing, is this maybe how he had so much money? Because nobody really knows where Jeffrey Epstein's wealth came from. Did he honeypot and compromise really wealthy men, and then they had to pay him off?
That's what I think. That's how I think it started. I think that Les Wexner was the first person that he made big.
Victoria's Secret guy.
Right. Victoria's Secret guy who has also been subpoenaed to testify before oversight. I'm sure he won't, but he has been subpoenaed. He's the one that started it. That's where the massive wealth accumulation started. But in terms of services, we have Palantir Peter Thiel saying, oh, well, he did tax stuff for me.
Right. He's in it.
Hundreds of
that is Elon Musk, Peter Thiel. They all knew Epstein. And this is crazy.
Millions of dollars. I mean, that just seems shady to me. And $170 million for estate planning. I'm not a billionaire, but I would think 100 or 1 million would be a lot for estate planning, but I don't know. I don't have that kind of money. It's not that complicated, but 1 million seems like it'd be really, really a lot for estate planning. I think it's all bullshit. I think that Howard Lutnick told the truth one time, and that's when he said Jeffrey Epstein bribed people because he got them in there in that smarmy townhouse. I mean, he's a cabinet secretary. He says this while Trump is under investigation. I don't think.
And Epstein is dead. Maxwell is in jail, and Trump is free. Think about that. Trump is free, and he's the president. So who do you think was leading? Do you think it's the person in jail that was the boss? Do you think the person that was the boss died? Or do you think the person that was the boss became the president? Like, which one do you think? Because to me, it sounds to me like if I was the boss of that operation, I would be the one getting away with it while my subordinates are going to jail or dying. You see what I mean? I couldn't think of, come on now. If Trump was the victim of Epstein, would he be the president? You tell me. I don't know. Of course, I'm not saying that Epstein didn't try to bribe him, but I'm just saying it just doesn't sound like the bribe worked. Why didn't it work? Ghislaine Maxwell is now saying there's 29 more people that are co-conspirators. Trump hasn't mentioned them. Trump knows who they are. Probably he's hiding them, right? I don't know, but to me, it sounds like more likely like the people that would pay the price would be the subordinates first. I don't think a boss involved with this would be the one going to jail first. I don't think so. I think it would be, to me, it sounds like Trump, they went to jail for Trump. And, that's what, I'm not saying I know, and I'm not saying that's exactly what it is. But right now, to me, that's what it sounds like. Like Trump got the rewards, the spoils of this operation. And that's what matters at the end of the day. That's who won. The person who got the spoils is the person who won. Okay. And I guess Ghislaine Maxwell didn't get the spoils. And Epstein didn't get the spoils either. You know what I'm saying? But on that note, I'm gonna be out, y'all. I'll be back soon. I appreciate everybody for coming out. It's been cool hanging out with y'all again as usual. And but let's get it better. Let's do this better. Things we have to want better. We pay 20% of our federal paychecks, right? Out of the federal dollars you pay, payroll taxes. 20% of that goes to health care. A lot of Americans don't even get. You know what I'm saying? What are we gonna do about that? We got money being paid. We paying Kash Patel to raid election offices. We're paying his salary to do that. We're paying military, a socialized military, to go to war across the world, to get oil, to sell and collect money in foreign banks in Qatar for the U.S. government of all places. Like, damn, why do we need Qatar? What's up with that? I'm not dissing Qatar. I'm just saying, why do we, the most powerful country on earth, need it? Right? Sounds very spooky. But in any case, I'll be back, y'all. Same bat time, late night stroll, USA, America, South America, all that, and the morning time in the EU, in the evening in Asia. So I appreciate everybody. I want everybody to have a good day and take care of each other. I'll be back at y'all soon, all right? Bless. Fuck Trump. Impeach Trump, y'all. Impeach them all. Impeach the Epstein administration. Goddamn. We ain't gonna make it if we don't. No, peace.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day and every clue. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute, you might hear, but they won't, cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ad, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds, open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees. So listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Benny, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Into the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. To the bony, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical